Yo, what up? What up? Mic check 1 2 1 2. Let's get people in the room. How we doing today, people? How are we doing on this Monday? Hope everybody's weekend was great. Hope you had a great Valentine's Day and all those things. I wanted to talk. Hold on. Let me do some things real quick and get some of these things exited out of here. I don't want to be all choppy or whatever. How's everybody doing, man? We got OG Weston in the building. Y'all rocking with that West Side. Y'all like the West Side. We're gonna talk about that in a second, man. I want to start the show off. Sarvan's gonna be in here in a second, but I wanted to start the show off, man, talking about this All Star Weekend real quick. And I know that it is the greatest basketball player of all time's birthday today. Michael Jeffrey Jordan turns 62 today. Yeah, more than 63, whatever. Jordan 62. It's crazy how time flies, and yeah, that All Star Weekend. First things first, man, I want to talk about this slam dunk contest. I don't understand what the NBA has going on, and this Max situation, and them signing him to like 10-day contracts or whatever they do just so he could compete in the slam dunk contest against other NBA players who don't really have well rehearsed or practiced dunks. Have you? I think that this is a situation where, and I've been saying this for years and years and years, I don't know why the league doesn't do it. They need to just go out there and get some YouTube sensations, man, and put them out there on All-Star Weekend to showcase their dunks and give them an opportunity to go out there and make a team, or at least try out for a team or something, man. If you're going to make it a circus, make it a circus. Because continuously utilizing a G Leaguer 3 years in a row and signing him to like 10-day contracts or whatever they do just so he can compete in the All-Star, that's circus enough. And if anything, I don't understand why the league just doesn't he's on a team, give him some minutes, man. Like, can he not play? But that's a whole nother thing. Bottom line, I think what they should do about the slam dunk contest, they either need to get rid of it. If, certain athletes in their league aren't competing, or they need to just go out there and find the best dunkers in the nation and give them either a check or an opportunity to go out there and try out for a team. Because at this point, this is a dead event. And I don't want to say the whole event, the slam dunk contest. I like the 3-point shootout. That's always competitive. And again, I don't want to sound like a get off my lawn individual. And I know Savant's probably can get in a second because, he's a little younger than me and I want to get his perspective on it too. Thumbs up in the chat, everybody. But when it comes to this 3-point contest and the fact that you got all these extra balls, pause, in the whole situation, it's like you guys got a Mountain Dew rack over here. And then with the money balls, you got all these extra money balls. And then with the other money balls, you get to choose exactly where you put the money balls. Like, I've always heard that the NBA does whatever they can do to get the scores higher. And that's usually in games when we talk about these things. But in terms of this event, I don't even understand what the incentive of having all of these extra point balls there are for. Just go out there and have the regulation balls and see who can make these shots. Because what it does is when you start pairing this up to what others did in 3-point contests in the 90s, early 2000s or whatever, the numbers look low and they look crazy. So, even though I don't like the way they do that, I think the event is still competitive. I do think that they could go maybe an extra round or something just to make it that much more competitive. But I'm not a big fan of all the different money balls or whatever. What do you guys think in the chat? Am I tripping? Thumbs up in the chat. And then the slam dunk contest is abysmal. The way to fix that, I do think, is, the fact that we do have great dunkers out there. I see them on Instagram and YouTube all the time. I don't know why they don't get an opportunity to get out there and showcase their talents for the world. It, boggles my mind, especially if they're going to continuously roll out a G League player to just jump over whatever. When he came out there, I was like, okay, well, what's he going to jump over this time? And I'm not trying to minimize the athleticism it takes for him to truly jump over a Kia, but dude, I mean, it's predictable. We knew what was going to happen. He's going to either stand in front of he's going to have somebody stand there and he's going to jump over it. And it's like, boom, he got all 50s all across the board. And I think some of the judges felt sorry for, the other competitors and gave them unnecessarily higher scores as well. Like, and then, well, the skills challenge was cool. I used to think the skill challenge was the boring event of the night, but it's actually cool now. And then the All-Star game itself. So the All-Star game format was pretty confusing for most, but essentially they had 4 teams of, I guess collective All-Stars, and then they were playing a game to 40 in a tournament fashion. And obviously the OGs won. I mean, they were the most complete team, and they didn't even have LeBron James because LeBron said last minute, hey, I have discomfort in my ankle and my foot, so I'm not going to go out here and play in the All-Star game. I don't know what the NBA needs to do to rectify the All-Star game, but when Steph, Kevin Durant, and LeBron James finally call it quits and hang it up, I don't know what kind of position the NBA is going to be in as far as star power, because the All-Star game is supposed to be the time where the stars actually come out there and shine. And you're not really looking for a competitive game. Yes and no. I mean, it's fun, and then it gets down to the last 5 minutes, and then guys really start locking in, and you get to see that real competitive nature from the best players on the planet. But that entails star power, and I don't think that there's many guys that, the casual fan is out here, ready to see play and compete on that level. And it's a shame because the NBA is the league of all of pro sports in America that is carried by that star power. So hopefully the NBA can fix that. I don't know, man. All-Star Weekend used to be exciting. And maybe I'm tripping. Maybe I'm just getting older and I'm on some, get off my lawn shit or whatever. But yeah, the All-Star game is just not as exciting as it used to be. Steph won the MVP, which was pretty predictable because it was in the Bay. It was great to see En Vogue performing at halftime. It was great to see Too Short. It was great to see, E40 and those guys get their shine. They do a really good job of making sure whatever city is hosting their All-Star event, that those folks actually get that level of shine. I know me and Savannah are going to talk about Lil Wayne's performance on SNL50. And yeah, man, it was a lot going on there. There's a lot to talk about there. I will say this before we even get into that. I apologize for even insinuating or just flat out saying that Lil Wayne should have been the Super Bowl halftime performer in New Orleans. That shouldn't have happened. After what I saw, Roc Nation made the right decision and picked the right performer. I hope that Wayne's performances can get better. We'll talk about that. But yeah, I wish he wouldn't have went out there for the SNL50. Did any of you guys see that? Did y'all see Wayne go out there for the SNL50? And yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more in depth than that. But, again, this is the GOAT's birthday. Shout out to Michael Jordan, the most competitive athlete I think I've ever seen on any level. And I really, 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 really miss the fact that he's not out there. And I know it's been a long, long time. I miss the fact Kobe's not out there. I miss the NBA having those stars that really out here to win, and give you the most competitive series that you could possibly get. And did you check out any of All-Star Weekend, Savon? How we doing, sir?
Yes, sir. I'm good. Good. How you?
I'm good, man. Man, the NBA is just I don't know what can fix certain things, but man,
I can agree with you on certain points, Mike, but we can't blame on Matt McClung, man. Actually, we have to big up Matt McClung.
I don't blame him. No. Don't get it twisted. I don't blame him. He's doing what he's supposed to do. It's not his fault.
It's not even the NBA's fault, really, to me. It's about these stars being afraid to participate. That's the difference between All-Star game back then. It was actually of All-Stars. We actually had known household All-Star players in these competitions, entertaining, being dope. And I can't, it's not that many stars that have been in a dunk contest throughout time. I think like, and this is, I could be wrong, and this is just me doing a backlog of me just going off memory. I think the last star we actually had in a dunk contest representing for real, like an actual star, was Dwight Howard.
Yeah. And shout out to Dwight. He was willing to go out there and compete.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Aaron Gordon showed his ass out there. I think Zach LaVine had a time. And those were dope.
That was the last great one, in my opinion.
As far as star power, we don't see star power in the dunk contest no more, and that's where it happens. I actually salute Matt McClung because he was actually creative. I know you said some things about the jumping over cars and things like that, but there's so many things that have been done and so much hype in the props, and he was going out there and clearing them like on first attempts and whatnot. And we see like Buddy from the Bulls, he was going out there, he looked bad. Milwaukee dude looked bad. Shout out to Buddy from San Antonio. He did.
Who people are, man, and that's unfortunate. Like you said,
Buddy from San Antonio is a rookie. You know what I'm saying? He's like one of those rookies that's actually standing out unexpectedly. But you're right. Like there's no stars there, and that's really what it is. I think actually the tournament wasn't that bad an idea. I know when I looked at it, I was kind of like, man, what's going on? And then you see LeBron dropping out, and then things like that. But it's like, to me, I think they do need to go back to the East versus West standard. Yeah. I think that's what made it exciting. But it's like, I think it's just the players more so than the NBA. The NBA has been trying to figure out ways to incorporate new things. This is the first year they did the tournament thing with the game. Beforehand, they had where like your team captains, they pick their team, and they, and I don't know, bro. I just don't feel it's all on the NBA. We have to start kind of putting it on some of the players as well.
Players. Now, it starts with the players, straight up. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, the lack of participation, the lack of effort in many times. And I've been very vocal on this platform or wherever, where a lot of the NBA players, man, these tickets are crazy out there for these NBA games. And for the stars to sit out and not even be hurt, and you got people who paid thousands of dollars to get certain tickets knowing that you're healthy, that's just not cool, man. You know what I'm saying? And what's going to happen on the back end, they're going to mess it up for the future athletes. And the owners are going to be like, look, contractually, we're going to make sure you do this, this, and this, so that our fans or the ticket holders or, whoever is not going to get screwed over at this event. Now, as far as the All-Star game, I think it would be fair, and let me know what you think about this, because they do this in baseball. East and West, and really put something on the table and say, look, whoever wins this, whoever represents this conference is going to get home court advantage in the finals.
Well, I think it's hard to do that when it's a combination of different players from different teams. Some of the players on those teams may not even make it to the playoffs.
Well, most of the guys on the All-Star team, they're in the hunt. Yeah. Most of the guys who are on the All-Star team, they're in the playoffs.
I think that's kind of hard to do. I don't think that's a good way of doing it. Actually, I didn't catch the full of the All-Star game, but from what I've seen from it, it looked like it was actually kind of cool. But as far as a dunk contest, like I said, we need to get back to the stars. I think one of the biggest things that hurt the dunk contest was LeBron never participating, and then him hinting at participating and then still not ever participating. I think like if you had him leading the way on that, more stars would have probably been open to doing it. And I know during this time, I think John Morant and Ant was talking about participating, and I think Giannis said that if they will, he will too. I mean, but that's just talk. I don't know.
Yeah. That not that if he does it, I'll do it, and nobody does it, right? But I mean, as far as LeBron, I never really looked at LeBron as a dunker like that. And he's said he's not a creative dunker, right? He's more of a game dunker. And if he didn't do it in his first couple of years, I wouldn't expect him to do it. Like Kobe did it. That was his rookie year. Yeah. Or second year.
I mean, every great that has been an in-game dunker has kind of translated to the dunk contest. LeBron is like one of those ones who didn't. I mean, when you could think about it, even from Michael Jordan to Kobe, to Dominique Wilkins, like all these guys, man, that made a name for doing it, out of this era, or even my era of watching stuff. I think Dwight Howard is like one of the main stars that really did it at his level of prime, you
Yeah.
know.
And he did
So
it at the center position too,
yeah.
and that's not even it doesn't look better for a center to go out there doing dunks like it does for, a
I mean,
guy
it
like
is
Robinson.
athletic. Dwight Howard wasn't your average
Oh,
center.
yeah.
He was
Dwight
really athletic. And why I see why the Superman comparison with him and Shaq. I'm a Shaq fan. I wasn't the biggest fan of Dwight, but I have to give it to him for his output as a player. But
oh,
I mean, Blake Griffin also was in the dunk contest as well. So, I mean, like I said, we need to get back to the stars being there. I don't expect LeBron at 40 to be on it, but LeBron in his prime, definitely he could have been in the
but
dunk contest.
and now that you mentioned Blake Griffin, let me get to the super chat real quick. Michael Williams says, I actually like Reasonable Doubt more than Illmatic, but the fact that it's being inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame before Illmatic is wild. The Blueprint was inducted into the Library of Congress before Illmatic too. Well, it is what it is. Speaking of the Blueprint, But anyway, yeah, man, Dwight was great, man. Dwight was incredibly athletic, and he understood that it's fun. Like at the end of the day, you got to have fun with it. And I think some of the superstars don't look at All Star Weekend as that fun. Many of them look at it as a time off. And really, when talking about all stars and we're talking about a weekend, it's really about them. Like again, back to baseball, home run derby. What would it look like in a home run derby if you didn't have the best home run hitters out
Mhm.
there
Exactly.
hitting the ball? It feels like many of the guys are scared to lose and scared to, and I get it with LeBron because early in LeBron's career, midway or whatever, people looked for any chink in his armor, and if anybody beat him in anything, they were going to run with it. And so it scared LeBron away from actually competing in something that's really just supposed to be for fun. And you can't tell me that the guys that were out there dunking against, what I'm saying, my man Mac, were the best dunkers in the NBA. Like, come on. No disrespect to them, but there's no way. Those were the three best dunkers in the NBA, with the exception of him, right? And at this point, when you have him competing, they really don't want to lose to him. So I say, look, throw it all out and just get people off the streets to compete. They're going to give us a better dunk contest than the NBA players can give us anyway. And
Yeah,
they
I
actually
mean,
have something to play for.
I think that'll light the fire underneath the NBA players' ass too. If you bring people off the street that actually could dunk at a better rate than them, you know what I'm saying? But we'll see. I
And
thought it
give them
would light the fire
an
underneath their
opportunity
ass.
to make a team.
Yeah, yeah, that would even be dope. But I think it goes more into like skill of a team more than just you dunking. You could
Of
be a
course,
great
of course, of course.
ass play of basketball of the game in the
But
NBA.
slam dunk contest is about entertainment. You know what I'm saying? And if the NBA players can't give us that level of entertainment, and Mac has shown us this shit. I'm a G leaguer and I could beat these guys 3 years in a row. So the best dunkers aren't in the NBA anymore, unfortunately. It
You
is
would
what it is.
think that would light the fire underneath the other NBA players' asses with that. I do it from the G League. He's won it 3 years in a row. I mean, but I
You
don't know.
would think. But it feels like, and we talk about the lack of competitiveness in this current NBA, which I feel like has affected the product on the court, but we really see it in the slam dunk contest. These guys aren't out there to compete in the slam dunk contest because they don't want to lose.
Yep.
I mean, that's just the bottom line. And we know that Anthony Edwards, and I don't know if it's like, the people they got deals with or whatever are scared for them to go out there. But I don't think that is a thing either, because that could do nothing but inflate your client.
Yeah, as to your accolades, man, it's dope. Like that's one of the things you go add it a part of your when we look back in your legacy as a player, and we go back and we look at this stuff. Like we can go back and roll the tape of Jordan in the dunk contest. We can go back and roll the tape of Kobe in the dunk contest, whatever. It just adds to it. So I mean, I don't know, man. I don't. that I think that's where the All-Star stuff died out, is when the stars stopped wanting to participate in things.
I agree, and you got to catch 22, right? Like even when you mentioned Blake Griffin, I felt like JaVale McGee beat him that year, but there was so much hype behind Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin was Blake Griffin, and he was exciting to watch. And a lot of people felt like they cheated for Blake. Some people feel like they cheated for Jordan over Dominique Wilkins too. But I think that if you get more superstars competing, that can kind of alleviate that notion too. You can't just have one out there and then other guys who are just, guys that people are just now getting familiar with, because the superstar, just like when we're talking about fouls in the game, is going to get that benefit of the doubt.
Which is funny.
All that, just get people off the streets.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think that's a good idea because, the NBA, man, like I said, the dunk contest has been kind of, but you look at the G League dunk contest or some of those, like those be lit.
Dunk
contests be lit. But like I said,
nobody in the NBA called anybody up to compete against Mac.
Yeah.
Like if they're gonna keep calling him up, somebody else need to call somebody up. Shit. Like I don't understand. But man, the NBA, man, it's like it just doesn't feel that competitive anymore. And it's unfortunate. I hope it heats up. I feel like, and I was a fan of this team, I feel like that Boston team kind of created, Boston and the Spurs, they created this whole notion that we can kind of lollygag throughout the season and just turn it on playoff time. And I think overall, that's kind of fucked up the league, man. Like,
I can't blame it on those two teams for that, because I feel like that's the NBA in a whole. Like they'll say, like, most people don't view the NBA to after All-Star. I actually think the Spurs is not a good example for that, because the Spurs actually, when they were winning championships, they was playing good basketball throughout the whole, throughout the whole year. And like
they were low managing though, but they had a unique situation where they could win with guys who weren't starters.
Yeah, I actually think that they are underrated championship teams when it comes to the Spurs, and I hated the Spurs as a Laker fan.
I'm sure you did.
But I have to give it to them. They were just good teams. And I actually think when they talk about championship teams, the Spurs don't get mentioned a lot for their productivity and output as far as a championship team. But I think I don't think that still has anything to do with the All-Star. I think the thing which you could say to the Boston thing, where it became a thing, is when ring chasing started to become a thing. LeBron switching the team, and it's all about the ring, because if you don't have those rings, you can't be considered the GOAT to people in this day and age. Like that, I guess that's what started happening. You know what I'm saying? So when it started becoming all about chasing the rings and that solidifies you being a GOAT, I think nobody cares about the outside accolades of, dunk contest, 3-point winner, all the other extra shit. They just want to win the ring, because if you don't win the ring, that's the argument they use to solidify your legacy in the NBA now these days.
I really felt like, LeBron obviously was a victim of that, but that was more so the fact that, him and Wade and Bosh, who were all in the East, they had to compete against this Boston team that had teamed up. So, they did what they did. But as far as that ring thing goes, I really feel like Kevin Durant was a victim of that. And it was like, he's like, look, y'all gonna make it about rings? Let me go get my rings with Golden State.
I mean, it hurt the NBA, period. When it came about ring chasing, people jumping to different teams and everything. I think it kind of hurt. But one thing I can say is LeBron on the Heat, that was some of the most entertaining basketball I've seen man, in a long time. Since
shit, man. That was
thing, because I remember those finals, even win or lose, those were entertaining finals series to watch. I have to give it to them.
I went to one of the last games. It was game 7 in Miami against the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals. And it was every night. It was crazy out there, man. What a time. What a time. Mad Max with the Super Chat says All-Star Weekend is trash. I ain't watched that since 2021. It's the fans' fault. You still watch and buy this BS, and you turn it off. If you turn it off, their pockets will hurt, and the players would go hard because they lose bread. I don't feel like the players are losing bread.
Nah, I think the NBA knows what the dip in popularity is about it. Hence why they keep on revamping ways of going about different things about the All-Star. most importantly is it's the players, man. We have to start holding these players accountable to a certain extent as well for the output. You know, it can't.
It's super competitive, man. I mean, there's a lot of factors. Some people feel like the players are too friendly. Some people feel like, that teaming up actually had an effect on the competitiveness too. But yeah, man, like you said, it comes down to the players and the fact that the players don't even want to compete in the slam dunk contest. It's wild to me, man. It just lets you know that, yeah, we don't want to compete. But it feels like with the 3-point contest, everybody wants to compete in that.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't get to see it. I seen Tyler Hero won, so that was dope. I didn't expect him to be the winner of it, even though he's a great shooter. I just think out of everybody else presented, I didn't think he was going to be the one that actually was the one that won. You know, Dame was out early, and I think Dame is who won last year. So when I seen, again, I didn't watch it, but when I seen he was the winner, I was like, I could live with that. I ain't mad at it. I like the 3-point contest. I actually like what they did last year with Sabrina and Steph. I thought they were going to run it back. But they try to get what's her name
Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark, and she rejected it. I actually thought that would have been great for her and great for the WNBA as well.
Right. I think she was right in rejecting it because at the end of the day, and she said, and this was very political on her end, she says, well, I'm not going to show up to the NBA All-Star before I do a WNBA All-Star. And I do think it is disingenuous that the NBA acts like they want to support the WNBA in any given way, but they never offer for Steph to go over there in WNBA All-Star Weekend.
What sense would that? How does that boost the WNBA though for him doing that?
I mean, if they were to do the same thing in WNBA All-Star Weekend, we would have actually known that All-Star Weekend was happening. I don't even know when the WNBA All-Star is.
Right, but I think one of the things for Caitlin Clark is I actually think it would have, when we seen Sabrina take on Steph and she actually did well against Steph, I think that takes fans over there to see what they got going over there. You know what I'm saying? I think if Caitlin Clark actually would have participated, I think it would have did more for the WNBA than it would have did for her just as an individual. I think it shows it would have shown a lot of their arguments that they're just exciting and just as good to where they should be viewed. And when you alienate yourself like that, whereas you separate the two without not showing, hey, I could shoot just as well as these guys are in the NBA or whatever. I think it actually, I'm just saying, I think it would have helped the WNBA more if she would have took the invite rather than decline. But hey, I have no.
We'll see what happens this WNBA season. So maybe this would be the push that Steph would need to go over there and support them, live and in person. But I think that was cool that they did that last year. I mean, I still want to see Steph compete in the 3-point contest, but I guess he has nothing else to prove. He's the greatest shooter of all time. So,
I mean, he's done it several times though. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you have to prove is that I could still beat you guys, But yeah, I mean, he has nothing to prove. He's easily the greatest shooter of all time. Yeah. I said that 10 years ago, like easily. Yeah. Now, I mean, I was convinced early. I mean, I'd never seen nothing like it. That season when they went 73-9, man, the amount of threes he was putting up from where he was putting them up and the accuracy, I never seen nothing like it. That's one of the best seasons ever, individual seasons, statistically. Like, that goes up there with that Barry Bonds 01 season. Like, that Steph was crazy that season.
Yeah.
All right, did you hear Drake's album? Speaking of Steph.
No problem. What you think about it?
More of the same. I heard T-Pain say that this album sounds like leftovers. A lot of Drake's stuff of recent time has sounded very uninspired, with the exception of the stuff when we came to the battle, right? The battle stuff sounded very fresh and inspired, whereas many of this sounds like, kind of dialing it in, say a little shock value things here and there. And I feel like he's kind of been taken out of his game. We're talking about basketball and all that. I feel like Drake's game is hit records, man. Catchy songs, catchy lines, taglines, quotable, not quotables per se, but captions, if you will. And I don't think this has much of that. Again, it sounds uninspired. I didn't expect him to. I expected this to be more R&B than what it was. He's leaning into his Toronto sound as he should, because I think that's his foundation, his base. I can appreciate that part of it, but yeah, it just sounded like another album.
All right.
I was dying to hear your take on it, though.
Yeah, I actually didn't listen to it when it first dropped. You know,
Uh-huh.
I didn't listen to it when it first dropped because I had it in my mind I wasn't gonna check it out. But I feel like if I'm gonna discuss it, I don't feel cool discussing it without listening to it. Um,
Why weren't you gonna check it out?
because like when I already say I don't check for stuff I don't like. I ain't gonna lie. I always said I don't listen to complain about music. If I
Okay.
like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. And if I feel like I'm off you, it's like if I go listen to this with the bad intent, all you're gonna get is negative from it. It's not gonna be genuine because I already have in my mind, I don't like this nigga. I don't want to go listen. But if I'm gonna be objective and have a conversation about it, I feel it's my duty to go listen to it with objective ears.
Right.
And you know, for this conversation specifically too, or any conversation I do have about it, because my homie was right. He hit me up about the album and I seen some clips online, and I was looking at the quotes and I was like, the stuff they picking out, like he's still beefing at niggas. Like, is that the case or whatever? I was like, man, I'm not entertaining this. You know, I'm not going to listen to it. If this is what he's still on, I don't want to
Yeah.
hear this. But he was right. I have to go listen to it to see what the tone of it was or what it was. I mean, you don't have to see that with the Joe Budden stuff. You already know what's going on with that. But as far as everything else, I'm like, all right, he's not really full on dissing, but it's not like the thing that I'm still looking for him. I'm not checking for it. So to make no excuses, I don't think this album is a good album. You know, and the reason why I say that is because I don't feel like even the Drake albums I don't like, I feel like it has some type of cohesiveness to him in the music. I can feel like his effort is there and that he was one with it. Even when it's something I don't like, I feel like he has something he's trying to convey in sound and that being in touch. The Sonics is always going to be good musically. The production is always going to be good. I don't think he's executing on top of these sounds like he should. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, you know, T-Pain may have said they sound like throwaway pieces. I actually think they sound like some of these joints sound like reference tracks. Like they were probably meant for someone else. Because like even the songs when he's singing it, I went into this album listening with an R&B ear. And Drake is not the best vocalist, but we know he can hold a note over certain stuff. When I listen to records, there was one in particular, and I noted this one down. When I'm listening to it was called, let me see, Mothballs. It was like the second or third song on the album. And I'm like, this song was better on the second half of it once it slowed down and Party Next Door came in there and Drake kind of did his classic Drake thing. But Drake singing on that, it was like, ear pollution. Like, I feel like at least if you're not going to be the best singer, you have to be a better songwriter. So the stuff you say comes off as like, as one with the music. If you're not going to be the best singer, you have to be a good songwriter. And I feel like the songwriting on some of these was poor as well. It sounds like somebody who was freestyle rapping. I mean, freestyle singing, you know? And so I feel like just as overall songs for the majority of the album, the overall songs weren't good, but there are some songs on here that I can see how people like. I'm going to objectively say that I think Give Me a Hug is a good record. It's a good record. I can't hate on it. It's a good record. There's other songs on there. I think the last bottom half of the album, not even bottom half, but the last 4 or 5 songs on the album possibly are the ones that kind of hit a little bit better. And I took a note of the ones I like. I took a note of the ones I like. I already shouted out Give Me a Hug. Small Town Fame, that's a good record. It sounds like something that was missing off Nothing Was the Same. Like that was like a throwaway record off Nothing Was the Same. Crying in Chanel gives me those Views vibes, like from Views from the Sits. Like that could have belonged on that as well. Deeper is a good record. Pimmy's Dilemma, if I'm saying that right, was decent. I also feel like there was another record on here. Deeper was decent. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't know, man. I just don't feel like it was his soul in there. I don't feel like the effort was there. I don't feel like the songwriting was on point. And I actually think this album is like the worst out of his collab albums. You know, he collabed with Future, he collabed with 21. And although this is partially an R&B album, I just don't feel the cohesiveness and the effort into this is dope. At
Do you
all.
think the fact that it was distributed by Sony instead of Universal Music Group has anything to do with the level of effort?
That has
Or
something to do with the level of push. Because if you're not releasing on UMG, why would you dilute your effort? You know, because
exactly, that's what I was going to
I
say.
don't
Is you would think he would have a chip on his shoulder and really come with something, full force. And that was my thing when it came to the notion that these are throwaways or whatever. Those would still belong to UMG, if it were that. Unless it was stuff that just wasn't turned in or whatever he just had sitting on the DATs, who knows? But it just seems like if you're gonna put out an effort on Sony for the first time ever, and you've been UMG your whole career, and you're suing them right now, you would think that he would come with some fire on this one.
Well, I just think like we don't like Drake when he we like Drake with the melodies. We don't like him when he act tough. I thought him with the melodies was actually gonna be fire.
Yeah,
Um, this is the first time where you get a record of such that's like geared towards women. And I honestly can say I know my homeboy said different, but for me, I honestly don't see women talking about it. I don't see women quoting it on their stories or on their pictures on IG. I don't see the quotes on socials. I really don't see people talking about it outside the bloggers and podcasters. I don't really see the people talking about this record. You
I
know,
hear people talking about the Melissa Ford line and the Joe Budden line. That's about it.
I don't. I mean, so even me, regular people, I don't see them even talking about that. I
Yeah,
just see the podcasters and the bloggers
right, right.
bringing talking about it, and then of course you have to go to the numbers and that and whatever. And I don't even think that's a fair assessment with all with being totally objective. I don't even think them saying, "Oh, his Spotify numbers or whatever like that" justify anything, because that's why I don't like using record sales or streaming on first week, because some people stream just to see what it's going to be. And
Exactly.
I think the real testament is, what are those streams going to look like weeks from now? Is it sustainable? Is it sustaining at being at a high level? Your first week sales or first week streams for this guy. First of all, Drake's not all the way out of it. And I always say, for any rapper, you always a hit away. But I really think he has to climb from being deep to get the people's attention again and the masses. As far as believing, but I feel like a lot of people went to this album looking to listen to hate and just shit on it, and I think a lot of people went to the album just to see what he comes with after beef. I don't think it's genuine, like, besides his actual core fan base, I don't think it's genuine, like, listens to this. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, with
That's why the
everything,
streaming era is so difficult to gauge, right? Like if somebody went to the record store and went and bought this, you put your money down, you know what I mean? And you can quantify that level of support. In the streaming era, you can't really quantify, like you said, why somebody's playing your shit. Somebody could be playing this just so, like you said, they could hate on it, critique it, and never go play it again. But that stream still counts as a
yeah,
stream. And I don't know if it tells the whole
exactly.
story. And I thought it was too many songs. That's the other thing I don't like about the streaming era, is the fact that just so it doesn't look like a flop, people will just load you up with a whole bunch of songs so they can get all the streams.
Yeah,
And then the album can collectively represent that streaming number because it just had a bunch of songs. You know what I mean? And it's like, get to the quality. And he right now he hadn't produced quality in a long time, to be perfectly honest. Now, like you said, I don't think Drake is quote unquote out of it. But I will say this, man, like Kendrick's running the game. And he's doing the numbers now too. It's not even just he's making better albums than you. Like, we already knew that. That was already a given. But now he's doing the numbers. And Drake got to go back to the drawing board. He got to get back to the quality and get back to doing what he does best. He's gotten thrown off his game And I think he's been off his game for a good couple years now.
Yeah. So, for me, my issue with Drake, and I've said this consistently in my arguments, even beyond the show, that I don't think he has grown with his music. I think the production and the sound has always surpassed him as an artist as far as creativity. Because the sonics is always great. The production is always going to be great, but I feel like his execution sometimes is off, and I think the growth as a artist hasn't been beyond the surface. I think he is just consistently pleased the bass, which I can't be mad at, catering to bass and consistently dropping music. That's what we're missing in hip hop is people actually dropping music consistently and feeding the people. So he was feeding the people, but I just also feel like when you feed the people so consistently, it dilutes your quality. And I feel like the quality for him has been just at a rate where it's never peaked above and it never dropped below. But I'm starting to see it start to be above his best efforts. That's why I say I think this is like his worst collab album out of the ones he did. When I think about Drake with the melodies, I'm thinking about Take Care, where it actually seemed like there was effort in doing real good songs and complete songs. And even the ones that weren't full songs, there were auras around it where it just sounded good. I feel like his best rap efforts and song concepts were on Nothing Was the Same, or If You're Reading This It's Too Late, as far as rapping ability. When we start getting into those later albums, I kind of feel that's when you get into the thing that Kendrick was criticizing him about is like, the way he gears his music towards. I feel like once he got into that bag and discovered that the hits was the way, I can't be mad at a guy that knows how to make hits. I always given him credit for his ability to make hits, because making hits are not easy to do. They're just not. As easy as it may seem, making a hit record is not easy. So I always commend him for being able to make the hits, but the fact that it's just like it's microwavable. It just coming like that. I don't think his craft of him and his ability as an artist has actually grown outside of that. So when you give me an album where I really feel like you sat and you really put effort into an album and songwriting and concepts and skill to it, I feel like you can get some respect out of me. I didn't want to listen to the album because I'm not with the whole thing of the suing and how he handled the beef and all. I just as outside of music now, I can't separate him from that shit. So I didn't even want to listen to this shit because I'm like, but like I said, I feel irresponsible to talk about it without giving it a fair listen objectively, without going into it wanting to hate it. And like I said, I could fuck with some of these songs on here, but as an album, the cohesion and just him executing over those beats, I'm not digging it, bro. Like, I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't think it's a good album.
Well, I mean, back to your point about growth, right? I think that a lot of mainstream hip hop artists specifically, they're scared to step out of what's hot at the time and collabing with the people that are hot at the time so that they don't feel like they've been pushed out of the mainstream, right? And become irrelevant. Because part of the growth is you being ahead of what the youth is currently doing. And the Sexy Red collabs and, what I'm saying, or whoever he collabs with that are outside of his generation, it's a step backwards. And no disrespect to those artists, because those artists are on their individual path, but it's their time now, right? And you got Drake seeming like the elder statesman in the room who's like, hey, I'm trying to come along for this ride too. And at some point you got to say, no, like let them have theirs, but you grow in your individual lane. Like even when Jay-Z was, I'll say like around American Gangster time or whatever, he collabed with Jeezy and stuff, but he had his own individual growth. And it wasn't like he was trying to load up American Gangster with Rick Ross, Jeezy, or whoever was hot at the time, or T.I., you know what I'm saying? And those would have actually fit seamlessly, but still, that wasn't part of his individual growth. And I think that those seemingly forced collabs that kept him on the radio and kept him in the ear of the younger listener prevented him from possibly growing as an artist. And I got to give Kendrick credit in relation to the two. Kendrick never really had to chase down those type of collabs. He did the collabs that made sense. He might not have been the strongest featured artist, but when he did do it, he made sure it meant something and it was consistent with his brand. And at this point, it feels like Drake's brand is just whoever he's collaborating with.
You know, I can't fully even my disdain for Drake as an artist, you know, from my personal opinions, I don't really think that's a good sum of him. I don't think it's due to his collabs because, like I said, out of his whole discography, he has this is his third collab album. But even like I said, those first two collab albums, it seemed to be like appropriate for the time, being that the quality around those albums he was putting out was good as well. So I'm never against a good collab album when it's good.
Well,
But
not a collab album. I'm talking about more so like the Sexy Red songs and just kind of hanging around on these
yeah,
radio records just to basically stay on the radio. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, collab
I
albums, that's
what you're talking
creative.
about on that. I think the thing with a lot of artists, not just Drake, is they're afraid of the pushback of making a bad album while
Hmm.
testing boundaries. I feel like every great has had a bad album just due to them testing the boundary, and I could
Yep.
actually accept that. If you want to take your risk and create something new and it don't catch and you fail, I could respect that more than
Respect.
you constantly doing something over and over, and then finally is people's like, hey man, this is just not it, bro, we need you to grow. So I think everybody is worth a poor output if you're pushing a boundary. And
Yeah.
I feel like that with Kendrick. I feel like his lowest point was Mr. Morale as far as music, but the
Right.
concept of that album was dope. It just don't connect. It don't connect with the people, even though the content and what he's talking about is pushing the line and the vulnerability of what other rappers don't talk about. I think it was there, but the music wasn't good around that
Right.
album. Because that's not even my favorite Kendrick album. But I feel like every great has the affordability to have one of those where you're trying to push the envelope and it failed. I mean, I feel like even when you get into the realm of talking about your J's, your Nas's, or whatever, all of them are afforded that same thing. If you want to push the envelope and either it goes over people's heads and they catch onto it later, or if it just fails. I think
Yeah.
every artist is afforded that. But if you're just like feeding it and you're just diluting your own quality to the point where it becomes unfavorable, then I mean that's on you as an artist. But I'm never gonna like I could say something is ass, but I could also say I like that you took the risk of doing that.
I'm
You know,
always about that. I love the Electric Circus
yeah,
from Common. Was it perfect? No, but I love the fact that you took a chance to do something and try to do something differently. And that's what we don't get enough in hip hop. But like you said, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the slam dunk contest. Some
yeah,
of these artists are afraid to, drop a flop, so they go out there and do the same thing over and over.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the things that Drake is given credit for introducing is things that he didn't really introduce. It's things that he kind of like hijacked. And and being that he's the biggest artist and you hijack that, it kind of sheds more light. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, because if you genuinely love this stuff and you want to kind of get that ushered in and you kind of want to be the one that bring that to the forefront for them to come in, if there's that genuine effort, I'm not mad at it. But if you're hijacking it for your own self effort or your own self interest, then I have to start looking at you like when we start talking about wave riders and people stealing, whatever, that's a conversation.
Right.
I actually think that with him, I don't see him pushing the line. I feel like him pushing the line at best was the sound that he was introducing, that Toronto sound. I mean, every rapper from Canada could accredit uh Drake for giving Canada a sound. When you think
Mhm.
Canada, you think that Drake sound, from the weekend and stuff like that. That's something that Drake ushered in. We have to give him credit for that.
Of
But
course.
the only thing for me, is like is that's all you're gonna get is credit for what you ushered in and knew and taking that pushing the boundary to the next thing. I also would like to give him credit for ushering in, being a rapper that's taking it back to being vulnerable in music, in a sense. Even if people don't think it's genuine, you just didn't hear in a where we were at. We just didn't hear that as often. And he kind of made that a thing, when a lot of rappers were saying, ah man, that shit's the synth music or whatever. I think he pushed the boundary on that. But I feel like that's where it stops. I feel like he never pushed the boundary into more and extending as an artist. I kind of felt like it was just, again, just microwavable and pleasing the bass and creating the hits to, keep you on top. But like I said, man, I want him to grow. And even with his rate in his career and everything he did, I still don't think he's grown to that next step of where he could be as an artist and really testing his pen as an MC as well.
50 Cent had a theory. He said that he thinks that Drake should walk away and give people some time to miss him, and basically put the onus on Kendrick to put the culture on his back.
That's not a bad take. And I actually had a similar take of saying he should have disappeared and stopped. And then when he started rapping, I changed the opinion and be like, okay, well, if at least if you're gonna rap, come with something hot, come with something dope. You know,
Yeah.
I changed my opinion, like, man, he need to go away. He need to go sit down, figure it out and come back. And then when I seen he was kept doing music, he released whatever gigs of music, I was like, at least come with something hot. And then when it just started getting bad from him, I'm just like, I don't want to hear from this nigga no more, because all the efforts was asked to me. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, I don't know where we go from here. Obviously, he still has fans. He's still doing numbers on his tour. He still have people that's going to support. So, like I said, I don't think he's fully out of the game, dog. The fact that we're still talking about it and is relevant right now, people are streaming or whatever, it shows he's not completely out and people are still willing to take a listen. But I think it's now a stain on him now that it's an illusion that it's not there whenever he drops and act like he's unscathed. No, there's a stain on him still, and I think you still have to kind of dig yourself out of hole with making great music.
And the lawsuits don't help.
We got the spam in the chats, by the way.
Oh yeah, I got him.
But yeah, man, I just to pivot off of this, even the hot takes, the things that people are talking about on the album. I hear more people talking about him going at him coming at Joe Budden more than I'm hearing about how good the actual album is. The thing with him and Joe Budden, I think it's corny. I think it's corny.
Where does it come from again? I mean, there's so much history with them.
Joe's a hater. It's no other way to say it. Joe's a hater. He's historically been a Drake hater. Like, he dedicates his podcast off hating with Joe, and I mean hating on Drake. And I think it's a thing that he has going that's a bit personal and a bit of jealousy as well. And then I think, sometimes when Drake feel like he want to participate in it, then he participates in trolling back at Joe or saying things about Joe. But I just kind of feel it's interesting with you now picking this album at this time to go at Joe when he's been trolling you for like 8 years now. Yeah. And, I was debating with my homeboy because he was like, what do you expect them to do when the niggas keep on dissing and keep on, whatever, like he's just responding. And I'm like, but the back and forth over years, like you guys personally know each other. Like if I take this outside of music and just man standards, right? Take this outside of music. And this is how I had to look at it. If I see two men feuding with each other back and forth for a long period of time and it never boils over, they never try to resolve it. They never even, hey, let's just go head up and throw hands. If there's no resolution, you guys are just going back and forth, bickering and throwing mud back and forth, I feel like it's whack. Because even though Kendrick and Drake did their subliminals back and forth, there was times where Kendrick kind of poked his chest out and was like, I'm challenging you more than once. There was Control, there was the BT Cypher, there was like things, and eventually it boiled over and they battled. When Budden actually did the diss tracks, Drake kind of laughed it off, kind of like dismissed them or whatever, because he had the momentum and people really wasn't jacking it enough. Like they wasn't really fooling with the Budden disses. But like you don't get a battle from this. Joe's not currently rapping still. So this never ending thing. Joe's gonna go on his podcast, talk more shit about him. Then Drake is gonna pick a time when he wants to talk about him again. It's never ending. And I feel like this is what, I ain't gonna lie, this is what hoes do. Like even as a man, like me growing up, if dudes are going back and forth and they be like, nigga, if either y'all don't fight, either y'all gonna fight or shut the fuck up. Because
I mean, that's why I haven't even followed it, man. And I've seen them get on like IG Live together. I think this was during the pandemic where they kind of just was having a conversation. And, Joe Budden's kind of on some, he didn't say this, I'm paraphrasing it, but it's more so, it's not personal, it's entertainment. And that's part of his brand where he just, says what he feels, yada, yada.
Joe's a hater. And I Joe stuff. Like, I didn't listen to Joe stuff in the beginning, but I started liking Joe stuff, and then Rory and Maul left, and then they brought Mel and what's the name? Queen's Flip on there and everybody. And it was decent, but then you start seeing Joe hating more, man. It's just like even some things he had to go back and backtrack. Like he hated on Kendrick's set list and then went back and backtrack and was like, he loved the performance. Like I think a part of Joe and some of his takes be jealousy of what happened with his career versus how he sees music. And some of the things he called out there are ass sometimes. But for the most part, I think Joe is he has some hate. There's some hate there. You know what I'm saying? But like they're back and forths, and we know it's not gonna come down to nothing. It's just like as men, bro, if you don't find a way to resolve this or a way to nip this in the butt, and it's constantly gonna be a thing, then I feel like that's whack and it's corny on both sides, not just one, but on both sides. Because even when 50 and Ja Rule were feuding, they clashed at times. There's stories about them clashing, or their crews clashing, or things that transpired. So if their beef is ongoing, even though I think certain things with them is corny, but we know that comes from a real place. Like this stuff is, these are two men that are basically just, oh, he said something about me, I said something about him, I'm gonna get on record and say something about him, then I'm get on my podcast and talk about it. It's like this is corny, bro. Like
When Joe Budden dropped
what do y'all,
3 diss records at Drake?
you said what now? I'm sorry.
You remember when Joe Budden dropped 3 diss records at Drake?
I thought it was damn near 5, to be honest.
It might have been. I don't know. It was
Look,
a lot.
You know, like I said, man, I just don't think that like it's a never ending, bro. It's like, man, at some point, like I said, take it back to how I grew up. Nigga, either y'all gonna fight or shut the fuck up. Because like it's back and forth corny, man. And it shows more about this album when I say if the main point is people talking about what he's saying towards Button, it kind of shows you that this album is not what people think. And people can disagree with me. I'm not saying my take is right, but that's what I feel. And I feel like if that's the main topic of conversation, it proves that this album's not as dope as some people may think.
What do you guys think about the album in the chat? I mean, let me know some of your favorite songs in the chat.
Honest, no hate. Like I really want to know, are you guys liking this album or
yeah, what are y'all rating it on the scale? Excuse me, on a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest. Like, what are you rating this project? I mean, look, I think that he definitely needs to double down on, the Toronto sound or just chill out altogether. Some of the melodies there, like you said, if you're not that great of a vocalist, the lyrics and all that got to be there. The delivery's got to be there. Give Me a Hug's a dope song, but
I like Give Me a Hug. It's not bad.
All in all, man, we needed to hear more of that and less of what, the other stuff was giving us. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure it had a really inflated first day of streams with him dropping on Valentine's Day and with the fact that, it's Drake and we hadn't heard from him in so long, but there's an inevitable drop that's probably going to come from, what happened with this album in the first week or first 2 weeks. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, it's a long road. It's a long road. And Kendrick just had one of the best runs that a rapper can have, man. This is '01 Jay-Z, 96 Tupac type of run stuff going on with Kendrick.
Yeah, well, it's fun. Now that the beef is over, I need the comparisons to die between Kendrick and Drake. When they're not rapping at each other, they're doing their own individual stuff. And I know, and me and my dog, we were saying this too. It's like now on, and I think I was talking about this with Super or Ron too in the chats that we have. I said that we mistake disses for rappers just talking their shit after a beef. So now from this point, if Drake goes on the record and say, "Fuck all y'all niggas, I'm dope" or whatever, then they're gonna be, oh, he's dissing Kendrick. And if the same for Kendrick get on the rappers, I'm better than all you niggas, they're gonna be, oh, he dissing Drake. So when rappers are just talking shit, rappers are, the bravado has always been there in hip hop. If the beef is over, there still be some underlying subs that may come, but overall, it's now back to making, good music. And I think we now need to separate and stop trying to compare them now, because it's unnecessary arguments, it's unnecessary debates about who's better. They're not even the same measurement of an artist, in my opinion. Drake and Kendrick are not merely the same type of artists. Even in their approach down to their way of constructing their music, they're nothing the same. You know what I'm saying? So
opposite, sure.
Yeah, it's opposite. Another thing that was kind of glaring to me too is like, I don't know, man. Like I said, some people may mistake this for hate, but like I said, the way that Drake does stuff to me is like, it's kind of female-like to me. Like I said, the back and forths, then the back and forth with Button, and then the Finsta account when you dissing people. I'm like, why don't you just do it from your main profile? Why you like the Finsta? like that. Because the whole thing with Ebro, you know, like Ebro, ooh, it's funny because Ebro actually has historically been a Drake fan.
Yeah.
And Ebro recently spoke out, and I'm just gonna read you what Ebro said.
Okay.
Says he said on Hot 97 earlier this week, he called Drake a sickness in the game when he was discussing the Kendrick Lamar's beef. And then he kind of explained what he meant by that. Because when I first heard that, I'm like, I don't know. But
Mhm.
he said Drake is not that important. The reason Drake is in this because he is a sickness in the game. He said it could have been any artist, but it's what Drake represents. People love Drake. They love his music. We love his music. He's beloved. He's not willing to go rip his soul from the bottom and do ayahuasca and look himself in the mirror as Kendrick had prescribed to him. It's about the game. It's about what the game does to the artist to try to dominate it. Now, out of everything he said, that last line is what stuck out to me. Um, it's about what the game does to artists who try to dominate it. I think
Right.
there's something that stands out about that last line for every artist. When you now have put yourself in position with chasing that crown, you get on that crown. Usually, people maintain that crown till it's time to be on the way out, or some people just fall from grace. And I feel like we're trying to stay in that dominant nature sometimes. Um, you kind of dilute your quality trying to chase and stay on the top. So like I think that last line you could apply that to every rapper, not just Drake.
Right.
But in Drake's return, if you guys want to go look at it on his Finsta, he photoshopped the picture of Ebro over a bowl of ayahuasca. Um, his face, I don't know, it's kind of corny. Um,
Sounds like
yeah,
it.
he went on to say, I'll say this in his response. He said, if Drake is now mentioning me at this point in his career, which he's never mentioned me before, or even been on our program or anything like that, and
Oh man.
he's mentioning me where he's already mentioned Charlemagne and Joe Budden and so many other points, he's at a low. That's what Ebro's response was. And like, I have no dog in that fight, but I do believe in that last line he said about like how the game changes you when you try to be dominant for so long or whatever. I think that applies to a lot of people. But I don't know. I feel like a lot of stuff with the IG and the social media stuff with Drake is kind of corny. But if we just want to stick to the music aside, I don't think it's one of his best efforts. I feel like the album sounded like it was thrown together. I think the songwriting was a little off with executing over the production. I think if you're gonna have Party Next Door, you could have actually made a dope album. And I just don't think the effort was all the way here on this. I actually, if I was Party, I would kind of be kind of pissed. Like, come on, man, we really could have been did something dope. And I just feel like this was half-ass effort. But like I said, some people like it, some people don't. Me personally, I don't think it's a good album, but I don't think it's ass. I don't think it's terrible. It's just not for me. I don't like this one. I don't it doesn't connect for me. There's no soul, there's no cohesiveness in this album and flow of it to me, in my opinion.
The game's changing. Thumbs up in the chat, everybody. Listen, when it comes to Ebro, and you're right, Ebro's always been a Drake supporter to some extent. I mean, he's always praised the work that Drake has done. And it does feel strange that many of the people who've always sided with Drake, good, bad, or indifferent, are now comfortable to come out here on the pile on type of thing. Like you see that it's safe to come outside and not speak glowingly of Drake. Now it's like, okay, well, let me say everything I've always really wanted to say. And that does make Drake's case for that whole 20v1 thing, a lot more valid than what people, would assert it to be. But at the end of the day, great music conquers all. And if you know all of these things are working against you, at this point, man, you gotta go out there and say, fuck all the other stuff, man. I gotta come with some heat. And if I don't, then you know what I'm saying, that I can't come out. I can't come outside with some lackluster material. I just
But here's
can't.
the thing. He knows he can come with this music because there is a particular base is gonna listen. Like he knows his base is gonna support whatever he does, no matter what. He could give a half effort of an album, and his base is always gonna listen and act like it's the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, it
Mm.
just is what it is. We have people that still are Drake apologists and Drake defenders, even after everything that has transpired. The reason why I say I don't like the Drake and Kendrick comparisons is because before the beef, we wasn't comparing the two. You know what I'm saying? Before the beef, even with all the subliminals and stuff they threw at each other, before the battle, we never compared these two as a measurement in music. You know, we held them as being the ones that are kind of holding it down for this new generation, the Drake, Cole, and Kendrick, even adding Future in there. But all four of those people make totally different styles of music.
Yes, fair.
We never compared the four at any in any form or fashion. But now after the beef, now the comparison is out. I mean, and
Well,
that's
that
gonna
happened
go.
with Jay-Z and Nas too. It's like they are
Well,
polar opposites. Same thing
I
with Biggie and Pac. Like they're so different, but the comparisons came from the issues. You know what I mean?
get with the comparisons of Nas and Jay to an extent because they're both New York. They're both,
Yeah.
Nas came out before Jay mainstream wise, but I think the comparisons just it comes off when you start talking about Big Jay, Nas, and the New York greats, and you start talking about that. I think more in that realm, they're more like their approaches to music is different. But I could even see how people could draw those comparisons more so than Drake and Kendrick. I really feel like their music is like nothing that they do is comparable to me.
As an MC, I never really viewed Drake as a, and I'm not saying this because of the, ghostwriting things, but as a writer like a Kendrick. You know what I'm saying? Like where Kendrick conceptually takes writing, I never viewed Drake in that stance. But I will say this about Drake. He knows how to put together a hit record, one way or another. Say he's a guy that can go out there and give you some bars, a hook. His production selection is really dope. He's always had a sound. And right now, it doesn't even sound like he has that much of a sound. And maybe he needs to change that up too. But artistically, I think he's in a place where he's got to figure this out. Either figure this out or he's going to have to take some time. But with a person like him, who's made so much material and who's never stopped, you can run yourself rampant and you can burn yourself out. I think that's happened. I think that the battle obviously took a lot out, but there were miscues in that battle. I think that he thought that he could take Kendrick off the map and just continue to run the ball down the field, but that didn't happen.
Yeah,
And it doesn't seem like he had much of a contingency plan if he did lose this.
Yeah, I mean, even when we go back to the comparisons, I mean, even we go all the way back. The streets is watching where I'm from. Jay-Z said they're arguing over who's the best, Biggie, Jay-Z, or Nas. The conversation started from that since then. Yeah. I don't see where that happened before the beef with Kendrick and Drake. Honestly,
we just say first person shooter, where Cole kind of put that narrative out there.
Yeah, but that's you think about how far removed that is. That's just a year ago. We're talking about a whole career of times that these guys been out. They even collab. Like I said, they have collaboration records together. So I don't think the comparison was ever about comparing Kendrick's ability as an MC to Drake's ability as an MC. I don't think that was ever a conversation. I think it was a conversation that who's the most dominant one out of who's running the game. And I think we could arguably say that Drake was on top as running the game, all of hip hop. We'll be a liar to say that. What I don't understand is where did the Kendrick hate come from? Because niggas was not hating Kendrick like this before the beef. Like I never seen nobody talk shit about Kendrick like this before the beef. So I'm like, where did all these Kendrick haters come from?
Yeah, I think they've always been there. I think that they were looking for the right time to come out here and say something. They didn't think that Kendrick was going to supersede or surpass, the fan base that he already had, because he's always had a pretty big fan base. But right now, man, he's running the game.
Yeah, I just think like when it comes down to him is like I just don't understand where the hate come from. One of the biggest things about this beef that I dislike the most, even with my personal stuff aside from for Drake or whatever, Kendrick or whatever, I feel like the fans made the beef less enjoyable. Like I feel like the fans on both sides has made this shit both like it's not enjoyable no more. You know what I'm saying? Because some of the takes that I see around is like it stands on nothing. The logic and some of this shit. I see the stupidest stuff online on both sides. And I just kind of this shit is not true. We could go back and see a bunch of this stuff. Right. I think that's what made this beef is like unenjoyable. Like just imagine if Nas and Jay would have took place in the internet era. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, that was one of the good things about that is in real time, any beef, people are gonna choose sides. But we enjoyed that for what it was. Some
Mm-hmm.
people took sides, some people switch sides or whatever. But um the fans and this and the internet, man, it just made this shit so unenjoyable. And it was enjoyable at first. I remember when I heard Not Like Us for the first time, I literally was just getting off the plane and I was in Vegas. I was just hitting to my destination where I was in Vegas. So hearing it over that whole weekend in Vegas was crazy. I remember that whole like real time. I remember when I seen the clips a Hot 97 and Jay-Z is performing Takeover, and then he brings out Michael Jackson and he puts Prodigy on the on the Summer Jam screen. That was all in one Summer Jam thing. And
Yeah.
then I remember when Nas dropped Ether on December 4th, Jay's birthday. And then he did the big performance where he performs Ether. You know, I think they have that on the end of Made You Look. I think that the Made You Look video is that same performance where they did all that from that show he did.
Remix, yeah. I actually had that DVD. It was
Yeah,
a Godson DVD, and he performed, a lot of
yeah,
the records on that album. And yeah, I remember DMC came out there talking about the first time that he came across Nas. I heard about Nas, and then they dropped Made You Look, and Ludacris
yeah,
and Jada, and all of them came out. I'm
yeah,
hearing, I don't know if this is a rumor or whatever, and not to kind of alter topics, but I'm hearing that Nas might have something to do with this next Mobb Deep album. That makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
Prodigy's no longer here. I hear Alchemist is involved, of course. And yeah, if you got Havoc, Nas, Prodigy, and Alchemist, man, I mean, I'm all in. I think that's a great idea. I mean, not to say that Nas is going to be, rhyming on everything, but who better to help them put that together than Nas himself?
Yeah, I'm not mad at that at all. I actually think that's a good idea to hear. Just even to hear them put together a Mobb Deep album in this time, it makes me wonder what kind of what unreleased verses they have from Prodigy. And being that
Right.
they were collaborators in the past, whatever, it doesn't sound off brand to have Nas, associated with the album at all. I just hope it brings us the true, Mobb Deep feel that we get when we listen to the music. Like I said early on, I wasn't a big Mobb Deep fan. I started liking Mobb Deep a little bit later and what they contributed to hip hop. But I'm not mad at this, especially when the Alchemist is behind it, and we know the Alchemist is longtime collaborators of them, and then Havoc is I'm not. Hey man,
Yeah. The
I'm not
production
against
will be on
you know.
point for sure, and the direction with Nas being there, it should be on point as well. I was just watching Times of Illmatic. It came out like 11 years ago now. Have you ever seen that documentary?
Yeah, good
Okay,
documentary. I
I
think there was
love
like
it. It was
two.
a
I
dope
think there was
documentary.
two around then too. Was there two?
What's that?
Like two Nas documentaries around that time?
It might
I
have
know
been. They
he was
always
narrating,
make
there was different parts. I know the one you're talking about. I think there was another one too. I may be
yeah.
wrong, but I think there was another Nas documentary too.
Yeah, they always revisit Illmatic, but I remember this one, and I bring that up because just them documenting Queensbridge and what Queensbridge was like as a project building, and that community and those things that happen there, the people that are in those photo shoots that are no longer here or locked up, and all of that. Like, I feel like between Nas and Havoc, and the skill set and the relationship that Alchemist had with Prodigy and stuff, I think they could really bring out that whole Queensbridge feel between,
Yeah,
the three of those guys, and, those Prodigy verses that could probably be uncovered. And if anybody has them, Alchemist probably got them. And Havoc too.
yeah. I'm not mad at it. I'd rather hear Alchemist over that than like I'm not mad at the Two Chains and Larry June album. It's just like I'd rather hear it with people that he's been longtime collaborators on. I feel like sometimes the sound doesn't go over with certain artists. And Two Chains, he's dope, but I don't know. When I listened to that album, I was kind of like, hmm, I don't know what wasn't connecting. I can't pinpoint it. I gotta go back and listen. I
Chains
only
got the one-liners, man. But for
yeah,
me, it's this is what I'm gonna say. And I think Alchemist is a great producer, one of the greatest producers hip hop's ever had. But those aren't the best beats I've ever heard Two Chains rhyme on. And so, when I hear somebody who is heralded as a producer on a certain level, and then the guy that you just made a whole album with, I mean, there's nowhere near the best best beats I've ever heard him on. then it kind of, it's a disconnect there. Man, the
You know,
person that needs to do a whole 2 Chainz effort now is Honorable C Note, man. The shit they make together is crazy. I love when C Note and 2 Chainz get together. Shit
yeah.
is crazy.
It was a funny thing. I don't think the album didn't do it for me because of 2 Chainz, to be fairly honest with
Yeah,
you.
2 Chainz did his thing.
I think
It's
the production and Larry June's voice over that production, which is like Larry. I mean, this is not far off of the kind of stuff that Larry June spit over, but I
right.
don't know. Like when we start talking about the sonics of it, you have 2 Chainz, you have Larry June, and like even when we go down to their performance, I think they did on Jimmy Fallon and their performance, and I was like, you see Larry June performing up there, and people like, then 2 Chainz coming, everybody cheering, and it's 2 Chainz. And I think it's just because he's the more, familiar artist to mainstream, but it's just like, that's how I feel on an album. That's a
But see,
perfect example of how I feel about that album.
and see, maybe this is the marketing me coming in. I think that that's unfortunate because if you're going to make a collective effort with somebody, people got to be familiar with the whole collective, right? And I think that maybe there could be some, at least on Fallon or whatever, or even if on the internet, man, like tell the story about how this thing came together. Like I remember they used to do stuff like that when, like, Jay and Ye did the whole Watch the Throne, not really documentary, but they talked about this, why this is important, why this thing came together. I was just telling somebody about this in terms of Beyonce and her whiskey, right? Like her whiskey's like $89 or something crazy like that, in my opinion. And the thing is, man, like we don't know Beyonce for whiskey, never have, and you got a price point that is above Uncle Nearest and people who've been doing this at a high level for hundreds of years, right? Not to say that it's not deserving of that, but to actually get people acclimated to what this is and why this is important, go, sit down at a distillery, do an interview with, Today or whatever, talking about whiskey. And I think that there's an opportunity there where, 2 Chainz can get people familiar with Larry June. Shit, some people familiar with Alchemist. And it doesn't seem that unbalanced when you're out there performing because you're right. That just throws off the energy altogether. It's like, who's this guy over here?
It's the Jimmy Fallon show. I wouldn't expect to be the most hip hop fans on that show. But I was drawing that performance to compare how I felt about the album. It was kind of like the same for me. That how you translate that performance is how I translate on that album. I actually would have rather heard Currency in 2 Chainz over that Alchemist production than Larry June and 2 Chainz. But I don't know.
For not to interrupt you, but if there was a spot for the 3 of them to sit down on Fallon before performing that, you know what I mean?
Oh, I don't know, man. I didn't watch the whole Fallon thing. I seen the whole performance on YouTube, man. So I don't even know what they did, if they sat down with him beforehand or whatever. So I don't know.
Probably not. But I'm just saying, yeah. I mean, you gotta get we skip that step now. You know what I'm saying?
Like I don't think I gotta go back and listen to it. I can't gauge enough to call it ass or call it dope or whatever. I kind of feel like when I was just listening to it, I kind of felt me just going through the motions with listening to it. I gotta go back and revisit it. Like I said, I'm never against artists pushing the envelope. Like we know what 2 Chainz can do, and the fact that he's going to this, which is kind of like what we're not expecting from him, I commend him for it. I just need him to hit on all cylinders, like everybody involved with the album, even on Larry June's behalf, But like I said, let me go check it out and see what comes from it, because like I said, I would have rather prefer to hear Currency Currency and 2 Chainz over Larry June and 2 Chainz, because we've heard what Currency sounds like over Alchemist beats. We've heard what he sounds like over this whole flow, and I think even with Currency still being from the South and the comparison of 2 Chainz being from the South and still being on that lyrical spectrum for both of them, I think they would have been dope. But like I said, I need to go back and listen to it. I don't want to down it. So I want to go back and revisit it before I give a fair opinion. But off first listen, that's kind of how I feel about that album.
Yeah, I love 2 Chainz, man. I love Alchemist, and Larry June's dope too. Him and Dom Kennedy, kind of remind me of each other. But when I listened to it, it wasn't something I was like, well, shoot, I got to go back to. But I'll go back and give it another chance too. But
I will
What I
too.
was gonna
I
say
think it.
though,
Right. Yeah.
what was I about to say? Go ahead. My bad.
I was sorry if I made you lose your point.
No, no,
I,
no, no. It wasn't you.
I was just gonna say, like, I just feel like, I have to go back and listen to give it a fair opinion. I don't know. I can't say if it on the scale if it was good or bad. Like I just said, I was going through the motions when listening to it, so I kind of checked out on some records here and there. But we'll see. Like I'll go back and listen to it and see what it sounds like.
Reasonable Doubt is getting inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. I was trying to look at all of the before the show, going through all of the albums or the hip hop albums that are actually in the Grammy Hall of Fame. All I saw was 3 Feet High and Rising by De La Soul. I saw The Chronic from Dr. Dre. And I did see Fight the Power from Public Enemy. Obviously that's a single, so I guess singles are in there too. But Reasonable Doubt's getting inducted in there, and well deserved in my personal opinion. I know a lot of people have a variety of opinions when it comes to Reasonable Doubt and the accolades that it receives. And it does have a very interesting history in the sense where it wasn't the most popular album when it came out. It wasn't the most successful album when it came out. But as the artist himself were able to step into, what he became and some of the things that he visualized and envisioned on that album, it got the level of appreciation that, I think it should have received. Now, granted, we talk about 1996. It was a lot going on in '96. Fuji's dropped the score. All Eyes on Me dropped. Nas is coming with his sophomore album. It was written. Bad Boy was still, running a lot of things. And, you had Iron Man over here. You got The Roots over here. There's a lot going on. And I don't expect for the songs that were on Reasonable Doubt to be the biggest songs of that year because there was a lot of radio going on at that time. But I personally believe Reasonable Doubt is Jay-Z's best album. And when I'm looking back on it, it may have been the best hip hop album in '96. The only reason why I say may is because All Eyes on Me is just such a monster, man. It's just got so many records on it. But it's a weird thing because we always kind of, I don't want to say we always, but many times in hip hop, we kind of gauge, what album of the year should be based on the noise that an album made. But Reasonable Doubt's one of those rare cases where an album made more noise after the fact. It's more like an echo.
I wasn't of age where I could really gauge this in a way of understanding it when it dropped. But me going back and listening to it, I love that album and this is why I go back to say, I know Rakim and stuff brought the look of a drug dealer to music, the look, but the idea of what people consider trap outside of just the beats, to me, Jay-Z is the first trap rapper from the content on Reasonable Doubt. Just with the content alone, if you take all bias aside and you listen to what he's talking about on Reasonable Doubt, the content is, I feel like he's your first real trap rapper.
Well, many people would give Only Built for Cuban Links the credit for setting that, I guess, that framework, what Ray and Ghost were doing. Biggie was talking about, but from a Kingpin standpoint, I would say for sure. From a Bossolini type of standpoint, I would say Reasonable Doubt for sure. It's interesting. A friend of mine we're talking about this today. When you think about the rappers in the '80s, none of those guys really came from like a drug dealing past per se. I'm pretty sure that the record labels were like, "Yo, I'm not."
It wasn't cool for them to rap about.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think, I was like, well, who was the first drug dealer on wax? And then we're like, Eazy-E, right?
That's facts.
Yeah, so it's like NWA started so much. NWA started so much. And not to say that he was the first that was open about it. I'll put it that way. It probably has happened before, and guys just switched up their image because they knew that they had to go sign, a record deal or whatever. But as far as like just it being public knowledge or whatever, that's easy E. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, I went on that little side tangent.
Yeah, but fair enough. I'm gonna put all eyes on me over. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I think I told you in
Yeah,
the we spoke about that in the chat. All eyes on me is a monster.
it,
It's like that's a monster. Like this one is a monster.
yeah,
This two got joints on like all eyes on me is amazing.
yeah.
When I say like
And you
even
couldn't escape it either. It wasn't one of those albums that you could sleep on or I ain't heard that. It was everywhere. That's why it's
yeah,
so interesting that, and maybe because it was a double disc, and I feel like it's hip hop's first double disc, but the source didn't rate that album.
wow.
And it's like, why? They didn't rate Wu Tang Forever either. But they did rate Life After Death, and they gave it 5 mics.
Well, even Reasonable Doubt got 4 mics.
Yeah.
It got the same level of mics as it was written, you know what I'm saying, in the source.
Yeah.
When I go back, I don't know what the impact was when it first hit. Like I said, I was a child, but listen to Reasonable Doubt now. I can say it's one of my favorite J albums. The content, the story of the content of that was dope. But I don't know what the Grammys look like for them at that career. Did Jay ever win a Grammy off Reasonable Doubt?
No.
Anything related to Reasonable Doubt?
Not to my knowledge, no. His
Didn't.
first Grammy is Hard Knock Life. Now,
Right.
if you want to associate Hard Knock Life with, I gave you prophecy on my first joint, y'all lamed out. Maybe they listen to that.
So, all right. So you didn't get anything won for Reasonable Doubt in the beginning. Did Nas ever get anything for Illmatic or anything around Illmatic on the Grammys?
Oh, no, no, no. He didn't
Okay.
even. And this is the politics that I've always talked about on this show. Like, what really messed up the source for a lot of people, and I was too young to really know better, but that 95 Source Awards, how in the world do you justify giving Illmatic 5 mics, which it deserved, right? And giving it the highest honor in your rating system for your publication over everybody else's album. But when it came down to your awards show, this album gets nothing. That should
That's
have been a shoo-in. That doesn't make sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we sat here as a publication and said, okay, well, this album got a better rating than every album this year. By the time our awards show for that year rolls around, this album has to get something or we look crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. So it's like, so being that, from what we're talking about as far as the Grammys for both albums, I don't like when we bring this up and people are like, Nas, Illmatic, blah, blah, blah. Both wasn't nominated for Grammys. I think this is the Grammys making up for the Jay-Z criticism. If you never honored it before, it never won Grammys, why are you going back and doing it now? Now, I'm not mad at it, but it seems disingenuous to me if
it
it
does.
never recognizes his Grammy stuff when you have an actual album from him that did get the Grammys and that doesn't get the nod in over Reasonable Doubt. So I'm trying to understand the
True.
reason for it. It seems disingenuous, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at it.
It feels like Volume 2 should be the one based
Yeah,
on them and their award show, and that should be the one that's in there. But again, Reasonable Doubt such a unique situation where they did this somewhat independently because they were Priority and all of that, and so it's almost like Reasonable Doubt from the industry standpoint didn't even count and didn't even matter until Jay mattered. You know what I'm saying? And so that's
I
where
agree.
the retroactive nature of it all kind of comes in as like, okay, well, he matters. He has more Grammys than everybody else. How do we not have his seminal effort in our Hall of Fame? Because if you ask Jay what his best album is, he's going to say Reasonable Doubt. I don't even know if he's
I
going
mean,
to even
Reasonable Doubt
register Volume 2 at this point.
says that. I can see how it is that because it's so personable. Like when I
Yeah.
remember, there's a reasonable doubt documentary. Irv is in it and stuff like that.
Yeah, I
Clark
know
Kent,
it's
everything, and he's talked like the making of that album, even with the coming of age stuff with Hard Knock Life and that or whatever. You like when you're looking at Reasonable Doubt, it it's easy to say with coming into Hard Knock Life, like he intended on Reasonable Doubt not really being something that like he didn't. I don't think he intended on being a rapper for as long as he did. I think he really was like he was contemplating retiring on Hard Knock Life. Coming of age and all that stuff, like with pain in the ass on the intro and stuff like that. Like he intended on retiring after Reasonable Doubt. Like he just wanted to make it and be done. He was telling his story from what it is then, and then it translated to become a full career.
Well, I
But
mean, you
like
got to think about it though. Like when he recorded that and put that out, Tupac was alive, Biggie was alive. Nas was,
Biggie was in
finally,
the video.
in that commercial status, and I think he was trying to find where he fit in all of this, right? And he's slightly older than those three guys too, so it's like I could see him being like, "Yo, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get mine in here. I'm gonna start this record label. I'm gonna sign some other people." And you know what I'm saying, and go from there. But when Pac fell and Biggie fell, and especially Big being from Brooklyn, it's like, well, shit, somebody got to represent. And he stepped up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Reasonable Doubt's the best album in '96, just because we have All Eyes on Me there. I mean, I'm just gonna be honest. All Eyes on
It's
Me.
the best lyrical performance of '96, in my opinion. And I know the Nas fans are gonna say it was written. I will be honest here. I think that '96 Nas is the best rapper I've ever heard. But if I'm talking about straight up lyrical performance, I can't knock what Jay did on Reasonable Doubt. I mean,
It
the
was
Evil
dope.
is something, man. Dead Presidents is something. Like
Yeah,
he's
live.
never rhymed like that ever again. We're never gonna get him rapping like that again, ever.
Yeah, hands down. It's a great album. But if we're talking about best album from '96, being able came out, I gotta give it to All Eyes on Me. That shit swept the whole world. I mean, it swept the whole country is in hip hop. I mean, Pac was larger than life. You know what I'm saying? You don't see an artist. I haven't seen an artist with that momentum of All Eyes on Me and how it's talked about and how big it was and people involved in the album until Get Rich or Die Trying. You
Yeah.
know, so Pac was on top of the world with that. I mean, let's call it a spade a spade. Pac delivered, but there was a lot of collaboration that went into the album. You had tracks that belonged to people thrown to him, stuff from Snoop, stuff from the Dog Pound, all of them. They all contributed to doing this, but Pac still delivered, and he delivered so much that even with his features, nobody outshined Pac on that album. Even with the features he had on there, nobody outshined him. He was always the spotlight on every song, and even his B-sides were fire. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still listen to Holla at Me on the weekend sometime. Like, I think it was Joel came in singing on the beginning of that. And man, when that beat dropped and he goes into the hook, oh man, Holla at Me was amazing. Can't see me with George Clinton. I mean, No More Pain.
No More Pain was the one. I think No More Pain and Only God Can Judge Me for me.
Yeah, Ambitions as a Rider. Like, come on,
man. It's another one. Crazy open. Like,
that whole album, bro. The DJ Quick had a joint on there.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The Binoculars. Yeah.
It's just saying, and I agree with you with the whole all hands on deck thing, where it's like Dog Pound was giving up some of their songs, Lady of Rage giving up some of her songs. California Love was originally Dr. Dre's, but even with that being said, like he was able to take all of these records, make them his own, and then give you a massive amount of product that we never seen nobody put together that many rap songs on one album at that point ever. Because this ain't one of those double discs where it's like, I got 10 songs over here, 10 songs over here. All Eyes on Me, like 27 songs.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
A fire though, fire. So even with the collaborative effort, they just were like, "Hey man, put Pac in there. He was delivering." You know what I'm saying? He was delivering, and so it's like we can't take that away from him. Even with the collaborative thing, he just was he had the hot hand at the time, man. And I
the
think
best songs were him by himself, in my opinion. You got I Ain't Mad at You. You got what I'm saying, No More Pain. You got Ambitions of a Rider. So it wasn't like the features carried.
Yeah, man. So I love Reasonable Doubt, but yeah, that was Pac's year. And shout out to '96 for just being a great year in hip hop, for real. Like, shout
There's a
out to
lot of great stuff.
if you want to tell me what the best album is in '96, I have to, with all the variations of content and everything, I just have to unbiasedly give it to All Eyes on Me. But, like I said, I don't know if the Grammys are trying to make up for like Jay's criticisms, or if I want to understand what went into the Reasonable Doubt being honored for the Grammys, and you never gave them Grammys at the time of when it came out. I don't know, bro. But like I said, for hip hop and for me being a Jay fan, I'm not mad at it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, speaking of not getting Grammys and getting a retroactive accomplishment, I mentioned that I saw the Chronic on their Grammy Hall of Fame. Snoop Dogg doesn't have a Grammy at all.
not at all.
Why is Doggy Style not in there either? Like, what is the Grammys problem with Snoop? You don't put the Chronic in there.
Yeah.
How is Doggy Style not there? Raising Head with the Super Chat says, it was written, Nas is the best MC ever. Well, I agree with that. How is Doggy Style not in there and the Chronic's in there, and how does Snoop Dogg not have any Grammys? Like,
I don't know, man. I think why Doggy Style's not in there because those powers may be was scared to prop up an album with such content.
But the Chronic's in there. The shit's called The Chronic. Like, somehow Dr. Dre gets to evade any of the smoke. No pun intended.
I don't know, man. You raise a good point. I don't know. I don't know, man. And being that it's funny because Snoop is undoubtedly like the most famous rapper right now. Everybody knows Snoop. Household name. Everybody knows Snoop. The most famous rapper ever.
Well, you know what? Speaking of which, and I know we didn't have this on our show thing, and I think we should because, this has happened since our last show has taken place. But Outkast has gotten nominated for, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Congratulations. And they're going to get in. I know they're going to get in. And, we're going to help them get in too. But again, Snoop Dogg getting skipped over, I'm surprised that Wu-Tang has not gotten the consideration before Cass. Now, they're the only hip-hop group or act that is actually in this nominating class. But happy for them. Congratulations to them. Well-deserved. Outkast is one of those groups, man, where they were able to change over and over. And I believe their final two formations, notably speaking, Stankonia and Speakerbox Love Below is one of the reasons, if not the reason, why they're being up for this honor. But again, it's well deserved. They put Atlanta on their back. They put Atlanta on the map. Some would say they put the South on the map. I believe they'll get in first try. I don't believe they'll perform. I don't. But I do believe Andre will be there to speak. I do believe that. And if anything, I think that he will take in this honor and give it the proper respect. Now, some people take that with a grain of salt because it's like, they get honored all the time, but not everybody gets, Andre's time. But I think that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame would definitely get that.
I think Dre will show up. I think he'll show up. Not performing, I don't know. But I think Dre will show up. One of the things why I feel like Outkast will get it is getting, the recognition before Wu-Tang is because they're more decorated. I'm just gonna be honest. They're more decorated as a group. They got the Grammys, they got the other awards. I mean, they did movies, you know what I'm saying? Even Speakerbox and the Love Below was loved by people outside of just Black urban culture of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Like white people also loved Hey Ya and and things and Roses,
more crossover.
Yeah, it was more crossover. So I think that's why it's more recognized just because the broad appeal to the masses than Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang was really for the streets. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's the only reason. But I feel like what they introduced to hip hop alone, and you have them coming together and forming uh, one of the greatest hip hop groups of all time. I think at some point in time they need to be recognized. But like I said, I think Cass just not only their output musically, but them being more decorated artists is why that rocks even more.
And
And their song.
it's not too off because again, Outkast came out April of '94, whereas Wu-Tang came out with their debut November of '93. Snoop came out with Doggy Style November of '93. So it's not a huge separation, whereas we talking about a matter of months here. It's not like a situation where, Wu-Tang came out 4 years before Outkast. So it's not that bad. Hopefully, Wu-Tang and Snoop too will get in next go around. But I just don't understand what the establishment's issue with Snoop is when it comes to giving him these type of honors, because it feels like the establishment loves Snoop.
I agree. I don't know what
You
it
know
is
what
with
I mean?
Snoop. I don't know what it. He made himself so likable to people throughout the years that minus the last thing when people criticize him with the president stuff. Other than that, Snoop has always been just a likable character throughout the years. He's getting more and more likable. He's doing shows with Martha Stewart, and you know what I'm saying.
So yeah, maybe they don't view him as a musician like that, and maybe he's viewed more so as a personality than the artist that he is.
Which sucks because that transition is actually greater as a story than you separating the two. Is how you transition from Snoop, who didn't really like talking in interviews a lot. He was a little bit more on the shy side in the beginning, and then seeing where he's at now, I would have never thought, looking at 20-year-old Snoop and looking at Snoop now, that these were going to be the person that grew from that. So it's
In my
also,
opinion, he's hip hop's biggest star, straight
yeah,
up. Yeah.
hands down. But yeah, I think that's really what it is. They just don't. They love him as a person, but don't respect him as a rapper, which is unfortunate because if you give Chronic that love, you have to recognize and be honest with yourself and say Chronic is a Snoop album. You know what I'm
There
saying?
is no Chronic without Snoop.
Exactly.
We're talking about the Chronic. You think this was Dr. Dre talking about the Chronic? Who you
Yeah.
think was around there smoking to inspire that in the first place?
I don't want it to become a thing where when it's all said and done and Snoop's not on this earth no more, that's when they want to celebrate his music. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to get
Gangster rap. NWA's in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It gets no more gangster than that. That's not an excuse either.
Yep.
Somebody's gonna have to tell me why the establishment doesn't fuck with Snoop, man. No Grammys, no Rock and Roll Hall of Fame consideration. The shit's weird. And everybody around him is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. NWA's in there, so Dre's in there. Eminem's in there. You know what I'm saying? What's the problem?
I'm like, he doesn't even get love for even that album. We have more of the commercial friendly records like Beautiful and Drop It Like It's Hot. Like, damn, he didn't get a Grammy off those. I'm like, God, what did he have
What
to
else can he do?
Like, yeah, man, those were more so of his mainstream records and stuff. So it's like, I don't know what it is with Snoop, man. Now you brought that up. I think we spoke about it about him and the Grammys before, I think. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know why he doesn't get the love he deserves when it comes to them recognizing him and his output as an artist, more so than him as a personality is interesting. But I
He's
will
joked
be
before that he's the Susan Lucci of the Grammys or whatnot, but it's all fun, and I know he don't care, but it's just the principle of the matter. You know what I'm saying? He is one of the most. I mean, if you want to talk about just as far as success goes and output, he is one of the most decorated, artists we've ever seen in hip hop. And
without
if we talk about the industry, he's paid for a lot of people based on the work that he's put in this game. And I think he should get some level of consideration for it, man. And
I agree.
I mean, if anything, it's blaring to me that Doggy Style didn't get that same level of consideration as the Chronic for the Grammy committee, and now we're getting Reasonable Doubt in there, which I have no problem with.
Mhm.
I do think that it does raise some questions about, okay, why didn't this get some level of consideration? Well, we know why it didn't. It's clearly retroactive, and that's cool. But I don't understand how Snoop just keeps getting skipped. It's just, and Outkast is going to get in, as they should get in. But I would have loved to have seen, Cass and Snoop get in, or Cass and Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
Obviously, all three of them ain't gonna be on the bill at the same time, even though they should. But I'm gonna be honest, and I'm an Outkast guy, man. Love Cass. Got this right here, of course. But I'm just
Look
pulling out
what I got.
Of course, look at us.
Yeah, like
But I'm gonna
Outkast.
be honest, man. Even though Southern Playalistic went platinum in '94 and it put Atlanta on the map, if we talking about who was really running shit in '93, '94, and that belongs to Snoop and
Yeah,
Wu-Tang too. And Cass kind of caught steam over time. You know what I'm saying? So, and they continue to get bigger and bigger and larger with their fan base. And I would say that Wu-Tang they lost a little bit of momentum, and Cass kind of grew momentum and crossed over even more. So I get that.
Well, you want to
And
know the with Wu is like, honestly, the longevity of them as a group is not there. But shout out to Wu, because I see that they are coming together to do a new album. So that's big.
Well, I heard that. Well, I believe that when I see it. But see, NWA, they got like 1.5 album for real. No, I'm not joking, but Niggas for Life is an NWA album, but Cube ain't on it, right? You got 1.5 album, you in there.
Yeah. I see what you said that.
Even though the Pistols got one album, and they're in there.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like rewarded on impact more so than album input. I mean, like music output, consistently, or a range of it. I think it's sometimes the impact for, like with NWA. I think it was just a cultural impact for hip hop, how they got in there. Because like how you said, NWA album output, or as a group, the longevity is not there for real. That was a small frame.
I was this on the next time me and Ron Vay talk. Somebody mentioned the Akumina vinyl I got here, and I know we were talking about Akumina and breaking it down from a production standpoint. And one of the topics that we spoke on was the fact that many people felt like Liberation should have ended that album as opposed to Chunky Fire. And I heard David Banner say it in an interview back in the day, like in a Source magazine, when they were, just kind of revisiting classics. But I disagree with that, because I felt like Chunky Fire kind of ended the album where Stankonia was about to start. And I thought that Liberation would have been predictable to end the album with. Long story short, on this vinyl now, they done ended the album with Liberation. I don't know who got pushed into making that decision.
I mean, yeah, like with Cass growing, and then the mainstream kind of like, I think that's where the advantage is of them as a hip hop group. Most hip hop groups don't really stay together too long, man. Like, when we really think about it, Outkast actually had, when we really rate their career, they actually had a decent run. They had a decent being cohesive. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's not a lot of hip hop groups that lasted beyond 1 or 2 albums for real.
Raising Head with the super chat says, if you could compare Snoop's career to any basketball player all time, who would he be? Being married to Beyonce changes the way they look at Reasonable Doubt. Oh,
that sounds crazy.
I don't know where you're going there. All right.
Yeah.
As far as Snoop goes, basketball correlation to Snoop. Damn.
He's Charles Barkley. He's Charles Barkley, man.
He's Charles Barkley? Okay.
Charles Barkley never got a ring, but was a great.
And got an MVP too. Yeah. I like Charles Barkley a lot. I don't know, man. Snoop is interesting, man. But see, Snoop is a teammate guy. You know what I mean? And he's a great collaborator. Charles wasn't that.
No, Charles. All right, we could even say AI. AI made it to the finals. He didn't get a ring, or made it, deep on the. He never got a ring from it. But we love AI. AI is a person that we credit to changing the game. Introducing a style and look to it. I give that to Snoop.
Snoop changed things. Yeah,
Snoop changed things, but never got that. He never got the ring. You feel me? But
He got no. I would say the championship is a classic album. I think Doggy Style is the ring. He might have gotten the ring his rookie year. I think Doggy Style is the best album of '93.
I gotta go
I
back
think
and look at 93 albums. I can't.
93 albums is going to be, well, the ones that will be in the conversation. Wu-Tang, Into the 36 Chambers, of course. And Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders. And then you got Doggy Style there. And to beat out those two, that's high praise. What I got is 92, I got The Chronic. 93, I got Doggy Style. 94, I got Illmatic. 95, I got Only Built for Cuban Links. 96. A part of me wants to say Reasonable Doubt, but All Eyes on Me is just so heavy, man.
All Eyes on Me is
the answer. 97, it's Life After Death.
But you made a good point. You saying that like his chip is classic album and being involved with another classic album. Now he was very instrumental. I think that's what really matters to us the best as a culture. Because those awards that we hold as high status, they don't mean shit to hip hop. That's just something to boost the profile, make you more decorated, get you some more money for features and shows or whatever. It's cool to say Grammy nominated or Grammy winning artist, where it's just a certain like prestige and status that comes along with it. But the stuff that really means to the culture is like your album input. Do you have a classic? You know what I'm saying? And a lot we have millions of rappers that make classics. You know, they may have a classic song or a one hit wonder and stuff, but yeah, man, classic albums is classic albums. So you're right on that, man.
If you made the best album that year, that goes a long way. That's like you said, there's a lot of albums that come out, a lot of rappers out there.
Yeah, even Mike.
I'm going to Kumina.
Ooh, man,
99, I don't know. Like, 99. Oh yeah, I do know. That's 2001 by Dr. Dre. Yeah.
98. Did we get Jay and DMX in 98?
Yep, got It's Dark and Hell is Hot. This thing is a monster. I mean,
you put that Jay and DMX? And I love Outkast, but you put the album over Jay and DMX?
Oh yeah. I think Akumina is a whole mic better than Volume 2. Now
was Pun in 98 too?
98 was heavy.
Yeah, man. 98.
DMX dropped 2. He dropped It's Dark and Hell is Hot, and he dropped Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. Capital Punishment by Pun is 98. Volume 2 is 98. Juvenile dropped 400 Degrees in 98. What else is 98? Help me out in the chat, people. But yeah, that's a cool now. Black Star dropped their debut album in 98. All these came out the same day, though. I mean, not all of them, but Volume 2, Akumina, Black Star, and The Love Movement from Tribe came out the same day. And Brand Nubian's album. Michael Williams with the super chat says, best storytelling, besides storytelling, what other aspect of lyricism did Nas do better than Jay-Z in 96? I have to give it to Jay. The intricacy / wordplay on Reasonable Doubt is crazy. I agree. Yeah. I know everybody in the chat, we got 72 votes and Nas won 85% to 15%. I'm still going with Jay. Raise a hand with the super chat says Snoop is Grant Hill, respectfully. I like that.
Grant Hill was nice until them knees.
Yeah,
until them knees down on him.
He was a great teammate too. He excelled in college. College could be the Chronic. I'm with that. That's good.
But what was the chat? What was the poll for Jay and Nas? What was that?
Oh, who's the best lyricist in 96?
Oh, 96. Okay. I mean, it was written in Reasonable Doubt. Both has 4 mics.
I think, I'm just going to be honest here. I think that Reasonable Doubt's more of a 4.5, 5-ish, where I think it was written is more of a 4.5. I think Reasonable Doubt's a better album. I just do.
I agree. I think Nas's efforts on It Was Written was actually, and this may sound crazy to a lot of people because how big Illmatic is, but I think Nas on It Was Written was better than Nas on Illmatic.
I agree with that. I think
I,
that what happened on, and I've always said that too. I think that It Was Written Nas is a better MC, better lyricist, but the songs on Illmatic are just so much better, and it just lets you know how important having great songs is for an album. Like as dope as It Was Written is, and as dope as he is on It Was Written, and the concepts, he was taking on concepts that he had never taken on before. It's very creative. He didn't have a song like The World Is Yours or New York State of Mind. Like these were great songs. And it was just a perfect storm. It's hard to duplicate that.
yeah,
Andre Miller in the
yeah.
chat says Jay lifted B. Oh. He wrote her first solo hit. He made her bigger. Before that, Destiny's Child was competing with freaking 3LW, not TLC. The revisionist lies a lot. What were you about to say? I got a lot to say about that.
Yeah. Nah, I don't even want you to lose your thought. Go in.
Nah, I don't want you to lose your thought either. I'll remember this.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is like Reasonable Doubt, just from the complete album from beginning to end. From the intro to the way it goes out. I think it's just a complete album, man. And when you listen to the people that produce, you listen to Irv, you listen to Clark, and all of them, when they give their accounts of what it went into making an album, I think people will appreciate it more if they go back and watch that documentary, the making of it, and then the surrounding stuff of Rockefeller and them being independent and just getting that distribution through Priority. And this is before a Def Jam link, before Irv connected the dots with them. I think you will appreciate Reasonable Doubt even more musically with what they did with what they had. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and to make that type of music that now we could talk about now and it being in timeless, I think that is a true testament to what goes into making a great album. You don't need the biggest features, you don't need the biggest name producers. You need an artist that's really dope with his pen and people that's really in there to make the magic works, and that's what makes Reasonable Doubt great.
Reasonable Doubt is, you're hearing and seeing in real time what these guys are building. And you're seeing the results of what they built, just years later. And that's what makes Reasonable Doubt so dope. Like everything he said he was going to do on this album, he did it. You saw it. Musically, I feel like Reasonable Doubt sounds like 94, 95 in a good way because, it took them some time to put it together because they didn't have the machine behind them. And it kind of gave you I say nostalgic because hip hop styles and sounds changed so quickly in the 90s. Like 94 sounds nothing like 95, which sounds nothing like 96. It sounds totally different than 97. So it felt good to have an album in 96 that did give you the feels of 94, 95. And man, he's just spitting on there, man. As far as this whole thing about Jay making Beyonce, I do think there is a level of validity to that. Now, I wouldn't say that Destiny's Child's competition was 3LW at the time. I think Destiny's Child, by the time they released "Say My Name," which is before Jay and Beyonce were public, they were superstars, and everybody knew who was going to go solo out of that group. Then the breakup kind of I don't want to say elevated their profile, but it gave the media something to talk about, right? And then they got two new members. And then they had, another member leave, whatever. I do think that there is a level of saying that Jay-Z did help out Beyonce's solo profile. And it kind of helped give the public a level of direction to know what to expect. You remember when NSYNC went solo?
Yeah.
Justin but started working with the Neptunes and Timbaland. And then JC went out there and was working with,
I think he had some.
Huh?
I thought JC had a Neptunes produced track. JC's first single wasn't bad.
That was the one that Dallas Austin did.
Okay, that was Dallas Austin.
Yeah, love Dallas. Dallas a legend. But somebody else did the whole album or whatever. Anyway, Yeah, it didn't turn out like Justin's did. And I think that when it came to, Beyonce leaving the group, she had to make a big splash, and the relationship with Jay-Z did add a lot to that. I will say that. And
So
yeah,
I mean, you're right. I think that is revisionist history. You brought up a big fact. I mean, I see somebody in chat say Jay didn't start winning Grammys until he marries Beyonce. Man, he won the Grammys for Hard Knock Life too. So that debunks
so
what
that's
you're
yeah, that's
actual
not bad.
information. But I do think it works both for them because the way we look at Beyonce now and Jay's not actively doing music, Jay's older, we kind of see is Beyonce being the one that's like, but let's think about Destiny Child, Beyonce. They were teenage. We didn't look at them as the grown women icons of that. We didn't know that Beyonce was going to be Beyonce today. So when we're looking at Jay, he's throwing Beyonce on the record with a mill. You know what I'm saying, to help work a mill. He's writing for Destiny's Child. Like they're right. Like when you're looking at Destiny's Child, they're even though they were great as a group, but we're putting them in the categories with TLC and stuff like that. And it kind of helped Beyonce's profile when her first record is Crazy in Love with Jay at one of the biggest parts of his time.
Yeah,
Even with Jay being on Blueprint 2 when they're doing Bonnie and Clyde 039 and 03 Bonnie and Clyde, which is, a Tupac remake of Me and My Girlfriend. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? It's like, yeah, bro, we have to remember what Beyonce was coming out of that. There was anticipation, but that profile of Jay being as big as he was kind of did more for Beyonce then. And then Beyonce got on fire and then kept sustaining that. And we look at her as being an icon now. The tide has kind of changed with how we look at Jay. I think it helps Jay's image more and it makes Jay likable to people that probably wouldn't have gave a damn about Jay. But let's not forget how that occurred and stuff like that. Like,
I think that her solo career, is one of Jay-Z's biggest accomplishments, in my personal opinion. I believe that, once he was able to do what he did in his career, he retired and was able to somewhat focus on her career. Now, granted, he was doing the Def Jam thing and all of that too, but it's no secret that, or no mystery, that when he put the music to the side and really focused on the business, then her music career as a solo artist just skyrocketed. Raise a Hand with the Super Chat says Reasonable Doubt sounds older than it was written. Both came out in '96. Yeah. What were we saying, my bad?
no, I think we have another super chat too.
Michael Williams with the Super Chat says, I keep my head, both of them where they supposed to be. Hoes will get you sidetrack and clap them close feet. Clap, STD, the Guns, Nas didn't have entendres like that on It Was Written.
Yeah.
It gets TDS, so I keep one eye open like CBS. You see me stressed, right? I mean, that's a good conversation. It's a good conversation. I
But
think Reasonable Doubt's the better album. I don't think Reasonable Doubt has any holes in it. It has songs that I don't like as much as others, but I can't consider them holes. Like, I think Coming of Age just sounds old. You know what I mean? It could have been left off the album, but I understand the purpose. It's a dope song. It actually sounds like it was probably the first song recorded for that album.
like
Yeah,
I
I
said,
mean, everything on there is dope. Cashmere Thoughts might not be a big record, but that's a dope song.
dope
I
song.
don't love Regrets like that, but it's a dope song. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, Reasonable Doubt was dope. I mean, and like I said, fair enough. I think it's parts in careers where both J and B has benefited each other. When Jay went corporate, I think that look with him being a Beyonce is a little bit better. I feel like the early on career with Beyonce, that's where Jay had the upper hand. I mean, I think both of them. I mean, if you really want to talk about power couples, they're the definition of it. I mean, I can't shit on either or with who made who bigger or whatever. I think as a power couple, like I don't
They
see why.
complement each other, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the definition of it. You know what I'm saying? There's other people who got together and try to do stuff, but I don't. These two, man, is
Well, I mean, let's think about this logically. Like, let's put the fandom aside, right? Like, he's a good, what is he gonna say? He's a good, like, what, 12 years her senior, if you will. Um, she had been in the game for a minute, but more so as a performer. And he had been in the business, if you want to be technical, since the 80s, but actively since like 96. I would imagine that with the success that him and his company and all of that garnered up until like 02, 03, he had a lot of game to give her as a solo artist. He had done this before. He had been in the business before. I'm sure she went to him for, some level of advice as well. So, yeah, he had a lot of game to give.
Also, one of the best things that they didn't do was have her under Rockefeller in any form of fashion.
Of course. Well, that wasn't going to happen anyway.
Yeah, it was best to keep them separate or being under that business or whatever with Beyonce.
Or I think the Rock Nation thing, I think that was good for her not to get under that umbrella, because Columbia wasn't going to let Beyonce go. That just wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cash cow. You'll be a fool to do that. I don't care who you are. You'll be a fool to do it. But,
it says, y'all right. Tito made Mike. Hey, man, y'all going to stop talking about Tito like that, man. Rest in peace to Tito. Tito played an instrument, man. Tito. But... Yeah.
Like I like
speaking of Jay. Oh, go ahead.
What do you say?
I was gonna say, speaking of Jay, man, did you see that Lil Wayne performance on SNL50?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I seen it.
Did you see the Sly and the Family Stone documentary on Hulu?
No, I didn't, man. I didn't.
It's really good.
Hulu's been on it, man. Hulu's been coming with stuff lately, bro.
Yeah.
I mean,
minus the documentary is super sad, man. Sly was so ahead of his time. Them drugs fucked him up early.
I mean, it's what kills all of our greats when you really think about it in black music is drugs, man. Like, man, so many greats.
I don't want to put any of that on Wayne. Wayne didn't look well up there. And for the people who, made those comments that Wayne shouldn't have performed at the Super Bowl because it wouldn't have been a good performance, and Kendrick's would have, because he's a great performer, they were right, and I will admit right here, I was wrong. I was vouching for Wayne to go out there and represent in New Orleans over Kendrick. That would have been the wrong decision. That performance was horrible, and I love Wayne. I don't want that to sound personal or anything, because it's not. I'm just being honest. Wayne got to get it right, man. He can get it right, but he got to get it right, man. I don't know what's going on, man. That was not it. And I don't know what his connection is with, Saturday Night Live, where that performance was even that important for him specifically to do. With the Roots.
Connection is with SNL. Has he ever hosted SNL before?
He never hosted. I'm sure he's performed at some point, but it wasn't something that was so memorable where he had to be the one to go back. Like, it almost felt like, let me go out here and show these niggas that I should have performed at the Super Bowl. Well, that didn't do it. That didn't do it.
Not at all. And it sucks, man, because like I went back over this past weekend and was like revisiting some Wayne tracks, and I'm just like, the fall from grace as far as performance and look, and like I remember. Like I said, I remember we did the Cash Money versus No Limit conversation, and I was talking about how, like, when I first seen Cash Money, I want to be like them niggas. Like, I want to have the chains and the, all that. Like, I want to, like, they showed you what success looked like before we even was familiar with them as the household names. And then to see Young Wayne, and I remember seeing how cool he looked to me when he was in the Destiny Child Soldier video, and the Hustler music. We could, go about the clips and what they stole from that in the comments if y'all want about the Bape stuff. But when I seen him in that Bape hoodie on Hustler music, when I just seen Wayne, he made shit look cool then. And then there was a period of time when he got into this wild stuff, and what I'm saying, it went out of this world. That was around Carter 3 when he started kind of getting on the weirdo stuff a little bit, as far as look and whatever. But he still had appealing. He still appealed to us a lot, because in a way he still kind of had the streets with the mixtapes. When mixtapes drop, we're like, oh shit, Wayne about to drop a mixtape. We waiting on that. And he was killing people's joints and making them his. like records that was already out and hits in their own right. He was taking those instrumentals and rapping over it, and you forget what the damn near what the original song was because he killed it so much. Like Wayne's work ethic, Wayne's growth as an artist from him being a teenager to going to where he's at, and I feel it kind of sucks that like it's all getting erased in people's mind while looking at where he's at now.
I mean, he was beat and stuff, man. It was crazy. It's like I don't know. Michael Williams with the super chat says, Mike, would you get third place for lyricist of the? Who would you give third place to lyricist of the year in '96? Andre, Lauren, Prodigy, or Black Thought? Well, I was thinking Redman, but I think the Prodigy pick is interesting, and so is the Andre and Lauren. Man, Lauren went crazy on the score. Yeah, I'm gonna go off script here and go Redman because Redman went nuts on Muddy Waters. Pause.
No, Redman actually hope he is.
Yeah. He originated all that wild shit, that rah shit. Busta Rhymes dropped his debut album The Coming in '96 too. '96 was stacked. Yeah. Iron Man.
I can't give it to Lauren because I can't give it to Lauren because we don't know if she wrote her own shit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, Lauren wrote that stuff.
It's already came out that Lauren wasn't writing her own stuff even on her own album that we held a classic. Like that's factual. Like I don't know.
I thought it was more some of the R&B stuff that she wasn't writing that she took credit for.
I don't know. I mean, look at the records, but they're saying Lauren wasn't writing her own shit. And that doesn't take away from her, but I can't put that over MCs that wrote their own shit and was dope. I can't.
I feel like, until proven otherwise, I ain't saying you wrong, but I guess my fandom won't allow me to accept that Lauren doesn't write her raps. Like
Lauren for what she did throughout the time, but it's like no matter how you slice it, I mean, when it comes out, they're saying that she didn't write her own shit, But
man. Whoever wrote Lauren's shit on the score, please come forth, man.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Because she was going crazy on that album. Like, on Fuji Live, she went nuts.
He was saying it never came out that she was writing her own stuff. Stop. Yes, it is. Like, you could go back and look at it, specifically for her solo album, more so than the Fuji stuff. But
now, I've heard that. For the Miseducation.
But like on the score, I mean, like I said, you give her the best lyricists over those people. I can't, dog. Like when all they do is rap. You know what I'm saying? That's like, if that's the case, then everybody should stop with their Beyonce outtakes with her in the country stuff. If all it takes is for you to dibble and dabble in that, you consider whatever, and you guys were criticizing that, let's not do that with Lauren. Because it's kind of the same thing. Like, you dibble and dabble out of rap, and you haven't given us a full rap album. Like, Miseducation is not a rap album.
What I'm saying? I've always said that.
Like, and it was a great album. Like, the content there is amazing. But I think, like, think about how much we put Lauren on the hill for, and the output after that is nowhere. I got to see Lauren perform live, and I'm like, it's amazing that you could still do stuff off one album and stuff, but it's like,
if that speaks to how amazing that album is, but
I can't put you over people off one body of work compared to people that delivered bodies of work throughout time. I can't just.
I agree.
Yeah,
because Michael had to follow Thriller. Prince had to follow Purple Rain. Stevie had to follow, Songs in the Key of Life. And when you could just drop one great album and never have to truly follow it up, I can't put you in the conversation with those other folks. As great as your ceiling may have been. The Raising Head with the super chat says, verse for verse, is Kendrick better than Wayne? That is a question for you, sir.
Yeah. I mean, you. Mm-hmm.
This is where I'll give Kendrick the edge, is the fact that Kendrick comes with cohesive thoughts. And I think that what Wayne does is dope, but it is kind of limiting. And I think I've said this before, and I was just praising Redman, and I love Redman. But the lyricism that Redman does on Muddy Waters isn't to the level of lyricism that Nas does on It Was Written or Jay-Z does on Reasonable Doubt. There's so many things that these guys are covering, these guys are talking about. Again, I'll bring up the evils. Like, Redman doesn't have the ability to do those things, or I haven't heard it. as dope as Redman is, and I feel that way about Wayne if we're comparing it to Kendrick. It's like, as dope as Wayne is, it's like My Sober and stuff like that. Like, Wayne can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, regardless of what you feel about those records, or even if you don't like My Auntie's a Man and all that stuff, Wayne can't do that. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is.
I mean, the only knock that I always said for Wayne is Wayne hasn't given us bodies of work with substance. When he say he's the best rapper alive, when he said he was the best rapper alive, we're not downing that, because when it comes to rapping, he was a great ass rapper. To be the best rapper alive, you don't have to rap about nothing. You just have to be a great rapper. You know, so he was very specific. Is he the best rapper alive? Not the best storyteller, not the best songwriter, not the best. Like, he said, the best rapper alive. And what he did? He rapped his ass off. Yeah. Whether it was of substance or not. But that's the biggest knock on Wayne, is his substance. You know, I think I've listened to Wayne, there's only, I can count on my hand how many songs of substance he has. He has Tie My Hands. You know, he did Georgia Bush on a mixtape. I Miss My Dogs. You know, that was Carter 1. Fuck the World is on Lights Out, I think. Yeah, man, it's like, it's not as much substance with Wayne, but do we go to Wayne to look for substance?
Well, see, I've always felt like that when it came to the T.I. and Wayne comparison as well. I always thought that T.I. was just a more rounded, MC. But I will say this. T.I., his limitations would be, and he's proven that he can do it because he did this on Paper Trail. His limitations would be, if, for somebody who might be a Wayne fan, they would say, well, T.I. don't do punchlines. But he's not that kind of rapper, you know what I mean? And I think that that's more of a style choice as opposed to, limitation, if you will. Same thing with Pac. Like, people will talk about, Pac's approach. I think that was more of a style choice than something that he couldn't do. Like, he would show you that, like on My Mom Made Up, that he could go with these different flows, but I choose to make sure that my hits connect, if you will. You know what I mean? He makes sure that every word that he spit connect, and it wasn't over anybody's head. I think that was more of a style choice. But I will give Wayne this over T.I. He kept going. He influenced generations, and he just has a massive amount of work that I would give him the edge over T.I., even though I think on paper, I think that T.I. is the more rounded MC. Now, one would say, well, why would you put Kendrick over Wayne? I think that when we talk about Kendrick in terms of albums, from beginning to end, Kendrick's albums trump T.I.'s and Wayne's, if we're being honest. If we're talking about Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, Damn, Section 80, I mean, it is what it is.
I think we base that off what if you're going there looking for substance when we have that conversation, because T.I., to me, he has the good albums. He has trap music. He has the King. He has Paper Trail. And what was Urban Legend. Urban Legend is my favorite T.I. album. Yeah, and like I said, like and he has a cult classic. I'm Serious is a cult classic. It wasn't really his biggest, but it's a cult classic. But it was always substance with T.I. in some form or fashion. Yep. On the hit stuff, especially on Paper Trail. Paper Trail like had a lot of substance. But I feel like T.I. made the better albums as far as what we look for in a rapper compared to Wayne. But I mean, I think people gotta stop. Like I said, with the revisionist history, like Wayne was larger than life. Like Wayne, feature wise, I remember seeing something when they said like Wayne had over 100 features in 1 year, and like they started counting down the features, and I was like, oh my god, this nigga was amazing. In between the albums, and then like Wayne, Wayne was amazing at his run. The work ethic, the output, like we could talk about the substance all day, but Wayne was holding down rap for a minute. You know what I'm saying? down. Like he was large. And I think they look at how Wayne looks now, his performance and all that stuff. I had the pleasure of seeing Wayne at his peak. You know what I'm saying? I remember it was like Father Like Son album. It was the King of the South tour. T.I. was the headliner. It was Wayne and Baby, T-Pain and Jim Jones. And Jim Jones had We Fly High. And you know, Wayne's presence alone had everybody going crazy. He wasn't even a headliner. And this was like Father Like Son. This was him in Birdman's album. But like, just see when he came out there with that guitar and did Leather So Soft and how everybody, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, come on, man. We can't act like Wayne wasn't that guy at one time.
Wayne was a great performer too. That's why it's very sad to see this. You know what I mean?
Like, yeah.
I saw him around Carter 2 time. And this was, you know, before, you know, dedication. This is when this is still like in a smaller arena, you know what I mean? And it was an intimate setting, but he was a star, like, you know what I'm saying? And his performance was incredible. I do remember that. Michael Williams with the super chat says, lyrically, Stillmatic clears Blueprint easily, but who was the better lyricist at 02, Blueprint 2 or Godson? Huh. I'm going to be honest, man. I mean, listen, Made You Look is probably the best song that whole year, but man, Jay rapping crazy on the Blueprint too.
You put Made You Look up there bigger than what I think it is. I like Made You Look too. I really do like Made You Look. But I don't think it's as big of a record as you make it seem, bro. Like I don't think
it's a cultural moment.
You know, I'm you know, crazy. I hear people like was playing the I Can record more than Made You Look, to be honest with you.
Oh, they probably were. It was a hit. I wasn't a big fan of it. And you know, Nas is one of those artists where, for me, his bigger records, I'm normally not a big fan of. T.I.'s like that too. I like when they take it to the streets.
So, speaking of the streets, I have this, and it's still in great condition. It's still in good condition. I remember this. When he was catching the charges and beefing with, you know, with Shorty Low and all that stuff. And yeah, man, we got to remember, we got to put some respect on T.I.'s name. Because we talk about like the you know, the drill rappers and what they do. This man went against Shorty Low. Shorty Low, like, he was a legend in the hood, in his hood. And you say T.I. ain't from Bankhead, and let's not forget that What's Up, What's Happening video. Or what was that? And he went out there to Bowen Homes. He's out there in Bankhead, and he's a little dude on the video. Like, like, come on, bro. Like, let's not forget the guy on that stage, and they holding up the Lucky Charm thing for the poster is a little flip and all that. Like, T.I., man, like,
T.I. is a rapper, if we want to talk about being battle tested too, and that's another thing that I would really give him over Wayne as well. You don't want to go tit for tat with T.I. Now, I know people are going to bring up Ludacris. I feel like that was a stand down moment, and that's cool. You know what I'm saying? We don't want our biggest stars in the city really going at it too much. But if we were being honest and, you know, all gloves off, T.I. beats Ludacris in the battle. I mean, it's just my opinion. Like, even on the Stomp record, T.I.'s verse is better than Ludacris. I know people will be like, you know, he got him on there. He done heard his verse. I'm a monster in this game, similar to the Loch Ness. Nah, that ain't better than the me getting beat down. That's Ludacris. That's the best line on the whole song. Song's over at that point.
So
my name rang from Spain down to Mechanicsville. Nigga, all you getting is Rodney Dangerfield. No respect. I'm a vet. You could bet that. I caught some cases. That's just a minor setback.
Yeah,
please,
man.
It was like, what do you say? Catch another charge. I'll be right back with the fives and some tries and a 6-pack. Nigga, please.
I mean, they both were dope on that. T.I. took more of a laid back approach, and Ludacris just attacked it. But let's not forget Ludacris. I'm a monster in this game, similar to the Loch Ness. My rhymes is nappy rooted. Some verses got a process. The truth in this booth. Ain't no doubt when I'm rapping. If I said I either done it or it's about to happen. When I pull up in the Louis truck on 26s, people dumb out. If life's a crap game, I'm rolling rolling sevens on the come out. Come on, bro. This rapper
He's just
saying
big boy to man. I mean, it's cool.
the house costs the same. Come on. That's me saying I
It
made
was
it.
two different approaches, right? Like
Come on, man.
T.I. knew he had the streets, and he went that approach was like, look, I got a level of respect that you just ain't got out here right now. And Ludacris hit him with the I got money that you don't have right now.
Hey, but Ludacris, but I think that's another thing. Luda, man. Luda is lyrically there. I mean, I hate that, like I said in previous episodes, I hate that he gets wrapped up to all the animated rap, but him as an MC is up there. Ludacris can rap over any beat you give him. Like I said, I remember an episode like Method Man and Redman. They had this, it was a short-lived show on MTV. It was like a prank show, and I remember they gave
one episode.
it was only one. I thought it was two. You're probably right. It was probably one. And I like the idea where they was going with that too.
Funny. They probably was like, yeah.
Especially when you see Jackass happen and all the other prank shows and things that happened. That was kind of before their time. But like, I remember they gave that whack ass beat to Ludacris, and he really was in there about to still come with something. And then with other greats, and I remember the Rap City and the Booth freestyles, and man, Ludacris is at a high level. And then the album output, like I say, man, word of mouth, man, word of mouth.
He was a hit maker, you know what I'm saying? And coming from radio, like he knew what was gonna work. The Razorhead with the super chat says, so we are going to talk about Gilly writing for Wayne. Let's keep that same energy, Mike. Made you look, or you don't know. Well,
we don't even know if that's true that Gilly wrote for Wayne for real.
I'm going to be honest. I do believe that Wayne had some help because his style changed too drastically. Now that made you look, you don't know thing, man. That's tough, man. Because I believe You Don't Know is a top 3 Jay-Z song, in my opinion.
I like Made You Look, but I have to take You Don't Know.
I'm not mad at that. I might.
I love Made You Look. I like the who's on the remix.
Luda. Let me say this about Ludacris. I do think that he is a hit maker. Of course, he knew how to make a hit. I might put him on my Mount Rushmore of flows. So if we're talking about people who have like the most creative flows, most versatile flows, like you were talking about that Redman and Method Man show, I could see me putting Ludacris on the Mount Rushmore of flows. I got Ludacris. I think Project Pat should be on there. We're just talking about just straight up flows.
I like Project Pat's flow, definitely.
His flow's crazy.
Duplicate that. You can't duplicate that.
Yeah. It's timely too. It's like he knows when to use it, and when he uses it, like, oh shit. Like he did on that Prophet Posse song on that Hypnotized Camp Posse song. What was the name of that song? Anyway, it'll come to me in a second. Where he was like, so you want to try a nigga with the niner. It did it right when the beat dropped. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Man, I might go Rakim because he did innovate flows when everybody was rapping a certain way.
Flows, right?
Yeah, Mount Rushmore flows. Who y'all got in the chat? Who am I missing? I mean, I know Jay has a very versatile flow. Pimp C's flow is crazy. T.I.'s flow is crazy too. But I will give Ludacris credit. He has a he's very creative with the flow.
So I gotta give Snoop on there because Snoop may not look at him as the most lyrical, but his flow makes up for it. Like we said, he could say the most simplified stuff, but the way he just swags it out on there is hands down. I see somebody I love Big Daddy Kane, definitely, and as a performer too. Big Daddy Kane is amazing. Rakim, hands down, just how he comes on, thinking of a master plan. Like I remember, like I think you mentioned it before. When Will Smith, he talked about how he kind of got on to Rakim's rhyme scheme to do Summertime. You know what I'm saying? Like, hell yeah, Rakim.
Yeah.
Biggie.
I like Slick Rick's flow. I always did, even when I was a kid, and Slick Rick was before my time. Like Slick Rick's flow is so crazy, man. It's like it's so effortless. It has so much personality, and yeah, you can't duplicate Slick Rick. You got the British accent with it. Shit is crazy. I don't know. That's a hard one, man. Mount Rushmore flows. I'm gonna have to look up the significance of Mount Rushmore as well, because you got to have the creator. It'll come to me in a second.
Yeah, you have
Go
that
ahead.
four. When they were even saying Biggie, like I said, we look at Biggie One More Chance remix. Then I'm looking at Warning, and then I'm looking like I Got a Story to Tell. Like Warning, like I said, that's my favorite Biggie song of all time. You know, Who the Fuck Is This? Pace me at 5:46 in the morning. Break of dawn.
Like his rhyme scheme, so
like,
underrated.
Come on, man.
Well,
Come on.
when he switched up his rhyme scheme on Can't Stop the Rain with Shaq, when he was
man.
hold on. It's that last verse. Allowed to a limit, my VA women, elevators in them, vehicles or televisions in them. Watch their entourage turn yours to just mirages. Disappearing acts, strictly nods and max, killers be serial, Copperfield material. My dreams is vivid, work hard to live it. Any place I visit, I got land there. How can niggas stand there and say I sound like them? Hello, push wigs back and push Ben's coops that's yellow. It was like something that land the elbow. Shoot up your days in any teller you in. Crack mine and I'm a thing. How about Mink be dragging? It's like, yo, this nigga is switching it up. He did that on Notorious Thugs too. Like every 4 bars, he was just switching up his flow. He might deserve to be in this list too.
Yeah, man, big. You know, I even want to get some love to Coogee Rap. I even want to get some love to Coogee Rap because Coogee Rap was nice, and you could tell the influence on Nas, and even that the Fast Life record with them too, amazing. I said that's.
I want to say this is what Mount Rushmore represents, and maybe we can put it in context here, right? So, choosing to represent the nation's birth, growth, development, and preservation. That's what each face on Mount Rushmore represents.
Shout out to people saying Tretch, because when we had our group chat, I put Tretch in mine too. Tretch is amazing.
So the birth, if we're talking flow, that's Rakim. Yeah. No.
I guess. Yeah, we gotta get the
growth. What represents the growth? Would that be well, LL Cool J could be there too, but the growth, maybe that is Snoop. Development, I don't know. This is too hard.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But like hands down, Rakim, Jay, Biggie, Snoop, and we could interchange that. Like we could plug a lot of people in there. We could even throw Nas in there, even though I don't think that he has a wide range of flows compared to like other people we name. But Nas's flow is one of them things that is at least in the top 10.
And it changed the way that people are rhyming. So yeah,
we have to put it in the top 10. Method Man, he gets love. I mean, even hearing Method Man on the What with Biggie. Even hearing Method Man on the What with Biggie. Like,
because me and Ronve were doing this piece on Illmatic, right? And Ronve even kind of put me on the game. I think he was doing some research, reading something that Method Man said. He said Method Man said that he borrowed Nas's style for the What with Biggie. I never heard it before, but I guess I can kind of hear that now. But Method Man has such a different voice than Nas. It's like you don't hear it. The way he switched up on My Made Up too. What he was like, Mr. Cal Staten Island. Rarely do you see an MC out for justice. Got my gunpowder and my musket. Blow. Felons get swelling. I paint mental pictures like Magellan. Half of my clan, we deep felons. Niggas that's protect their joints to non-nickel. Man, I stay on point like I said. Sorry, I got to go through the whole verse. No, test the cap. All of you love. Oh yeah, when he was like, better take one in cash or that's that ass. Your vital statistics are low and falling fast. Johnny Blaze out to get loot like Johnny Cash. Play a game of Russian roulette and have a blast. I was like, as a kid, I'm like, whoa, what did he just say? Like,
and the fact that Method Man is like he kills features. Like I said, he's one of the top feature killers. He collab with all the greats, really. Like Meth is that guy. Like I said, I seen somebody say Tretch. Tretch was on my personal list in our group chat that we have, Mike. Tretch, when I hear him flowing on Hip Hop Parade, or even
You heard a
what's
lot
the
about it, brother. Game old ground being low down or do the showdown with any little hoe round. I want to know who you believe in. It's like it's so fluid too. Like it's
OPP?
crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
You put
OPP
the heart
alone.
apart, the spreads apart. Like yo, Trench,
People are getting
calm
those big
down.
the records was Tretch. It wasn't Vinny. It was really Tretch. Those are Tretch records. You know what I'm saying?
They
Like
were. OPP literally is a Trench record.
Tretch
It's
records,
just
man.
Lord with the
Um,
super chat says Spice One's flow. Yeah, Spice One was crazy.
shout out Spice One.
You
We
remember
got
Trench on Filmy Flow? Well, it's like you about to feel the chronicles of Bionicle lyrically spitting, just hitting them on a mission. It's just, yeah. I used to know that whole verse, but his flow was very original.
we got other super chats. He don't put some good names on there, man.
I see Twister's flow. See, Twister, you know what? I will say this. We got Twister. He says E40's flow. Now, E40 could be on that Mount Rushmore flow just for how
Hands down.
different it is. I think Twister, his flow is really, really dope, but it might get overshadowed by how fast he's rapping. If we talk about a fast rapper with a dope flow, I always thought Crazy Bones' flow was beautiful. Pause. Crazy Bones' flow is just beautiful. Like,
Yeah, I agree. But Twister, to me, like I said, man, I hear Twister on Po Pimp. Come on, man.
That's one of the best features ever. I don't care what anybody says.
So logically, be learning these hoes biology, but honestly,
That nigga crazy on there. It can't, I tell this story all the time, man. When I went to the store and I looked on the back of Do or Die's album and saw it was featuring Twista, I was like, oh, he not in the group? I'm not buying this album. Like, I was gonna buy the album if he was in the group.
Because don't get me wrong, Do or Die even float that out. Like I said, the learning these hoes biology, like they was dope. But when Twista came on there and took over that record, even T.I.
Look at the ladies with open lips and the provoking hips and never had to tell them any lies. I've been looking in the city skies. Look at him in Vinny's eyes. He was like, peanut butter complex is a pretty eye. Gotta be right, gotta be. Yeah.
I'm a click want to know what that would be like. I know you want to try that to the rhythm of a hi-hat before we deny that. Come on, man. That's a good type of
Don't be bogus and deny that. Where your ride?
Like, and then emotions. Remember, let me play with your emotions. Come on, man. Get it wet.
I had that on tape, man. Laura with the super chat says Kendrick's flow. Kendrick's got a dope flow. Kendrick's got a lot of flows, though. That's the thing. Like, which Kendrick flow do you like the most? Like, he has a lot of. I don't know if I would put him on the Rushmore, maybe for preservation, if there is. Yeah. What about Future?
I have to. It's not a super chat, but I have to highlight this because he said one of my favorites, and that's the Brat on the Live and Die for Hip Hop. Oh my god!
Yeah, she killed.
Oh my god! I love the video.
The next nigga to step get deleted by death. Undefeated ain't no thing to put that body to rest. Chest filled with smoke, yoking niggas up by the collar.
I'm an advocate for the Brat. I'm always saying the Brat deserves more love, man. The Brat deserves more love, dog. Like,
I think that, and I've always said that too. And I love the Brat coming out the gate because Funktify was dope. Yeah. And her features are crazy at the time. But I feel like
for others.
Oh yeah, she was writing for others. I feel like she lacked identity moving forward, though. I think when they kind of piggybacked off of the G-Funk with Funktified, it kind of put her in a place where after G-Funk was gone, it was like she was kind of finding her sound and kind of almost had to start over, if you will. And was connecting with like the fast rappers.
Yeah, I think what killed Brat for the most part is just, in this game, like I said, you're victim of relevancy. And I think when you're on a bout of not keep on coming out and producing that music and then you catch that charge, because even her efforts before she went in, like when with the joint when she had the record with Tyrese and What I'm Looking For, you know what I'm saying? Like even that had some joints on it. I just think her biggest thing was her catching that case. Because even on the Ladies Night record, she killed that with her, Left Eye, Angie Martinez, Missy Elliott. Who else was on that record? Lil Kim. Yeah, she even went ham on that. She killed that
I
verse.
feel like Left Eye had the best verse. Now I used to think
Over the
that Brown
Brat.
had the best verse.
You gotta
Yeah,
go back and look at Ladies Night. The Brat killed that shit.
she did.
She killed that shit. Come on, man.
Lloyd with
Yeah,
the super chat says KRS like a penny bake. This is one penny. My philosophy. KRS got a flow too. And he was able to change with the times as well. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great flows out there. I guess it would have to be more specific, creative flows. And I'll give Ludacris that. Like, Ludacris has some of the most creative flows. You never know how he's going to approach a record. Like that flow that he used on that Sierra record, crazy.
Oh yeah. He killed
Something
that.
styles get wild. Old school's coming down in a different color. Bitch up perfect. When you want to take a click, call up Jazzy, tell him pop the bottle because he got another hit. Yeah, it's like, yeah, he really put a lot of time and effort into, creating some new flows and all that. I'll definitely give Luda that.
And his freestyles on his early albums was crazy, like Back for the First Time, and even Word of Mouth. Like I remember we had the joint with Four Eyes, you know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Four Eyes.
I remember that shit off the top of my head. You know what I'm saying? Like the freestyle to that. See, I live a life filled with chicken and mount liquor, a woman at a real life scratch and sniff sticker. I shoot videos and get knob fobbed in trailers and hit stage and break a leg like Lawrence Taylor. Come on, man. Like, come on, man.
I remember the first time he was on Rap City, man. And I think this is the first time he was in the basement. He was like, Ludacris, I powerbombed that ass like Kevin Nash. So I was like, oh, snap.
Oh, man. We got to give it up. Like, another guy who I don't think get mentioned the most for flow because he didn't really put out like that. We got to Mace.
You like Mace's flow like that? Shout out to somebody saying Shauna. I think Shauna was one of the most talented artists that didn't get the push he deserved. Yeah.
Shauna's still dope. But yeah, Mace, man. I know they don't give a lot of, I don't know, people kind of put Mace in this weird box because of Shiny Suit era and Diddy and stuff, but Murder Mace is amazing. You know what I'm saying? Mace was, if you love Fab, you gotta love Mace.
I was gonna say, now that you mentioned Mace, I will give credit to Cam too and how he kind of changed up. Because Cam, first two albums, he's rhyming a certain way, right? But when Cam changed it up and changed up the flow, and that whole Dipset movement became a thing, like the one word thing that he was doing, he changed the way a lot of people was rapping. Like that, I'm trying to think of an example because it's so much. But when he's like, damn dog, you 12 and a half, 12 in the stash, like that type of stuff. Or no, here we go. I'm on the west side of Chicago looking for a bus down. Make me put my two arms up. Touchdown. Yeah. As soon as I touch down, you stay in touchdown. I'm like buckshot shorty. Duck down. Yeah, I must clown. I'm from Harlem Uptown. What we slash shit. Take your bitch and ask you what now? Bitches think they go and kiss their husband. Call him kissing cousin. Toya's kissing muffin. Shit's disgusting. Keep the chickens clucking. I'm like, yo, his flow is crazy. This on my wrist is nothing. It's just yellow hearts and pink diamonds. Where you think I got the dough for this? Don't think rhyming. Fucking with Pablo. Yeah, like, yo, Cam, his flow was crazy. And I'd never heard anybody rap like that before. And I like when people do that. Like, you hear
push-ups he did because Cam used to actually kind of spit faster. So that slow it down. You actually see Cam's influence from the South a lot. Him kicking it down there in Texas and stuff. I think he went to college in Texas where he played ball. Okay. So you see the Southern influence in his switch up a little bit. I think that's fair to say. Cam's nice, but that Murder Mace, man, like I'm telling you, even. I put this in my personal group chat too, and I see somebody in the comments. Pun, bro. Pun, the 187, him and Fat Joe. Like I said, I think I seen this on the Liberty show, on a previous show. I still can't get that pun shit down packed on that verse. the little Italy line, like yo, the
Yeah,
187. Like
that in the middle of Little Italy, diddle did he know that he riddled the middleman who didn't do diddly. That verse was crazy, but when the one before that, when he was like, I rub your face off the earth and curse your family's children like Amityville and drill the nerves in your cavity, feeling insanity's building a pavilion in my civilian. And can it be the energy that humanity's building? I was like, yo, Fat
yo,
Joe's
he was the
side, brother.
first one to do the Heather B reference. He's the first one to do a Heather B reference. I know, like they was on Two
Oh,
Chainz, fucking Heather B, whatever. He had the Heather B line in
put my
the
block down.
yep,
Yeah.
which was dope. It was actually kind of dope. But I know if you're a hip hop head, you'll know Heather B. But if people who don't, Heather B is the co-host with Sway and Sway in the Morning. She was
Yeah.
she was dope.
She was on the first cast of The Real World too. Shout out to Heather B.
Heather B was nice.
Raising here with the super chat says smooth the hustler's flow. I ain't on smooth the hustler like that. I need to get hip. But I mean, I would say this. I think that Southern rappers, for the most part, I think that we're more into the flow and the different, flows and cadences. Nobody wanted to sound like each other. Like Goody Mob is a group of 4 people who sound totally different from each other. 8Ball and MJG. Somebody mentioned MJG. Like,
too.
It's funny somebody mentioned MJG, and I like MJG more than 8Ball. I'm in the minority, I'm sure. But if we talk about flow, that's all 8Ball. Flow is 8Ball. Straight up. The flow is 8Ball.
But MJG on Space Age Pimpin' though.
I be obliged. Man, I feel like MJG is one of the most underrated rappers, period. Yeah. The Razor Head with the super chat says Cam and T.I. got better using their normal voices. That's true. I mean, we don't know. I guess it is their normal voice, but yeah, they got better when they changed their style. I would say the same thing about Common, because on the first album, Common wasn't rapping like the Common we know today, and they found their style. That's tough. When you came out with a whole album or two with a whole nother style, and then you change your style all the way up. I got to give them credit for that. That's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of dope flows to this hip hop thing, man. There's a lot of great artists, like, because even the combination of Cam, slow flow, and when he did Adrenaline Rush over with Twista was crazy.
Yeah,
crazy. The original was crazy, but when they did it with Cam, that is crazy. Like, yeah, man. Yeah.
Cam got bars, man. People used to laugh at me when I said that, man. But Cam. Nigga was spitting.
I mean, like I said, my favorite in Dipset over the time span has been Jim Jones, but Cam was dope. Cam was dope before Dip though, as far as because that what was that album he came out with?
Sex, Drugs, Entertainment.
Got the overalls on.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about shit.
I forgot the name of that album.
Confessions of Fire. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is that the one I had?
Cam on the first 2 albums. I really wasn't. It took the
album, right? Horse and Carriage was on that album, right?
Yeah, that was on Confessions of Fire. I wasn't really into Cam at that point. And, I thought his flow was, like I said, I was more in the pun, as far as that collective. I was in the pun, Cannabis, Mace, if you want to throw him in there too. But I wasn't really into Cam like that. But when Cam changed up his flow and got with The Rock and dropped, damn, what's the Rockefeller album? I'm tripping.
The Cam album?
Cover in my head. Yeah. Come Home With Me. When he dropped Come Home With Me, I was like, oh, man, I can't deny it anymore. This nigga's fine.
I remember he spit over the pot joint on there, the Leave Me Alone joint. I think Daz had that record too. Oh, well, shit, Daz produced that record, I believe. But
Losing Weight on there.
Yeah, man.
But that Rockefeller song is my favorite Just Blaze beat ever. That I was like, whoa.
Home With Me was dope.
Go ahead, stupid. Go fuck with them chicks. I'm the third little piggy. I'ma fuck with them bricks. Better yet, bakeries. I got pies and cakes. Niggas think doubling is turning 5 to 8. I turn 8 to 20, 20 to 100, 100 to 1,000, that to 100,000. In front of housing. Close them all down, dog. No one's allowed. I'm copping everything. I'm done with browsing. Get your shit rock more like Hasim Rock more. Extra scary. CEOs are the front ain't necessary. I fucking secretary offer information. It ain't necessary. They in love like the 14th of February. Play them like April 1st, right before I slide off. It could be March 2nd. Sound like July 4th. Halloween or Memorial Day at your memorial be 1 year from today.
Hey man, Purple Haze is good too.
Yeah. Maze is
Purple Haze.
I'm not Maze. Cam is underrated, actually. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Purple Haze is not like that's what I'm saying, man. That's at the end of the day, we argue whose is better than who or catalogs, whatever. When it really come into this culmination of everybody contributing to this hip hop thing, we have to appreciate what we appreciate. Everybody may have had a time. Some people may have had a movement. Some people there's so many people that contributed to this shit that why we love it so much, man.
Yeah, some people had a moment, you know what I mean? And everybody does have their moments, and the moments are great. I just want that level of originality, and I don't even want to say competitiveness or whatever, but like we were talking about slam dunk contest earlier, like you should just want to be able to go out there and do something special, man. And you can't do nothing special. You're just sitting on the sidelines, man. Like guys, just go out there and make something, man. Like, make
in their post on IG and Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it now, than they do being in the music. Put that shit in the music. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I think that's what's just lacking. We got a lot of people going back and forth on socials, but they're not putting it in the music. And then when they do put it in the music, it's kind of like, the output don't be the same. It's just like the thing that we love about the game so much, and why we could put people on the Mount Rushmores and we could rate them or whatever, because everybody was contributing, but everybody wanted to be different. Being like the next person wasn't gonna get you nowhere in hip hop. Being a biter is something that people frowned upon. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it can get you out the game depending on who you biting.
That's interesting, man. And I don't want to get on that soapbox, but there was a post that somebody shared with me, and I ended up sharing it on According to Hip Hop, but it was from Master Ace where he was freestyling, and just that early Eminem style, like that punchline, like you could tell that Eminem was obviously inspired by Master Ace, but it was kind of biting, right? And it's funny that Master Ace has that verse on the symphony where he says, "There's a sign outside, no biting allowed," and it's always been the thing where it's like, you don't get no props for biting. Like, be original. Even if your original is somewhat whack to people. Like, I respect Silk the Shocker because you might think he's whack. I'm not saying you, but in general. But his style was original. Somebody could say maybe E40-ish with his style, but at least he's trying to do something new.
Yeah, I like everybody that contributes to the game with something new and fresh, dog. And I think, like I said, what is new and fresh to some of these younger rappers is the way they dress and having tattoos all on the face. But when it comes down to this music, the thing that we really want to judge, it's like mini-me's. You know what I'm saying? Mini-me's.
I can't listen to your clothes. I can't listen to, what you wearing. Like,
like come with fresh. You know what I'm saying? Give us something new. Honestly, when I think about it, who's the newest of recent rappers actually gave us something new and fresh?
I will say this, and he might not be super new, maybe like 8 years in now, obviously, but it's crazy how time flies. But I would say Lil Uzi to a certain extent. I remember hearing, what is it? It was on 2 Chainz album, a couple albums back. It was called Free Lighter, and it was a song with him, Chief Keef, and Lil Uzi. And I heard that they were rapping in a way that I was like, I don't think I ever heard anybody flow like that. And I like that shit. You know what I'm saying? Even though it might not have been something that I'm going to just listen to every day, I respect the fact that, they found a new way to do this thing.
I've heard stories that the Uzi we know now is not necessarily the Uzi talent in full capacity of what he has. I've always heard that. That he actually did rap, more so on the side more. So I think, when I'm thinking about newer rappers or, of the 2010s or whatever on beyond, man, like I said, it's hard to not mention people that brought something new and fresh to the game without mentioning the big three or without mentioning Wale or ASAP or even Nicki, man. Even Nicki. Like
Yeah,
Nicki's influence on a lot of female rappers, whether they say it or not. I can even see people drawing the comparisons from Dolce to Nicki with how she animates some of her
easy, of
clothes. Yeah.
course.
So
The
even
theatrical approach.
even Nicki. Like I said, I'm a Wale fan. I think Wale, bringing that sound of DC as far as the go-go infused stuff in the hip hop was kind of dope early on. You know, the mixtape About Nothing and things like that in his albums. Man, there's some people. There's some people. I think Big Crit is under the radar for how dope
Yeah.
Big Crit was. I think I don't know, man. Certain artists sometimes they're victims of labels, and I think Crit is one of those who really never got the full credit for how dope he was. Um,
Timing too. I think if Crit
yeah,
happens about 5 years after he actually happened, I think something's different. I hear, I don't want to say new Crit songs, but songs that I probably slept on, from Crit all the time, and I'm like, yo, man, this nigga was really dope,
Crit was dope. But yeah,
super.
it's hard to really think about when we start going further and further from that class of all those people. It's hard to now start naming rappers that has the impact of flows because like now these rappers now of course they're not making music to us like for us like NBA YoungBoy like stuff that's not music for me, but if
Yeah,
I could understand it I could get it. My little cousin he listens to a lot of them and everything, and I could understand it, but it's still I think he's one of the leaders of that class where NBA YoungBoy does numbers. People love NBA YoungBoy.
yeah, he
Um,
got a real
I
fan
can't
base.
give an opinion on it because I don't really listen to it. You know what I'm saying? But as we start to go through where we're at now and coming from that 2010s till now, it's getting shakier and shakier, man. It's like even when we go back and we were to look from where we started on the double XL magazines, like the freshman covers until now, from those incoming classes, it's kind of like, damn, bro, like it's kind of sad, G, like where we're at as far as like the originality and who's bringing something new and fresh to the game. Who's somebody new who's most recent who I could fuck with. I like Big X the Plug. I was one of the
Hell
first
yeah,
people to be able to
yeah.
say
You
like,
the person who put me on to him. So yeah,
yeah, Big X the Plug, man. I think Big X the Plug is dope. Like I said, I like Dochi. A lot of people
Joey
are just.
Badass is dropping 3 songs at midnight. I heard. I just got that alert.
I'm
Um,
not mad at what Joey Badass is doing right now. If he's really just rapping, like if you just making dopes, his last joint he did with the video was dope.
it was. You know what? I think Westside Gunn should actually executive produce his album.
I don't know.
Right.
I think he should keep doing what he's doing, but come with a body of work.
Yeah,
I didn't like the what's the name, the beef joints too much, like just come with the dope stuff and you want to do that afterwards though. Because I like Daylight's response. Daylight kind of wash Joey. You know what I'm saying?
Daylight's
Daylight,
crazy. Daylight's crazy. Like people
yeah.
like Daylight and them, the Lupe fiascos of the world. Like there's levels, man. Like you
Daylight got
know,
a battle coming up too, by the way. I forgot who he's battling. He got a battle coming up,
he
but
does have a battle coming up. I think is he battling in Atlanta? Because I know
I'm
there's a
not
battle going on in Atlanta. There's one in
surprised.
Brooklyn. There's one in Houston. I think he might be in Houston.
But seeing that Daylight stepping into music more and the stuff he's coming out, Daylight's dope, man. I ain't even gonna lie.
Yeah,
Um, man, it's just like I don't know, man. It's just interesting because usually when we hit points like this in hip hop, it's stale, and then we get some dope shit. I'm hoping that's the case. I'm
I
hoping
hope
we
so.
get. I hope we get some dope shit that follows after this. You know what I'm saying? Because I always say this too, and people may laugh or whatever. I'll be like, man, why my generation have to be the one that has everything that sucks? Like I've seen music be like hit a low. I've seen sports is trending down. I'm seeing fashion being where it's at. I'm like, man, why? Like, I can't really say my generation is a generation afterwards because my generation they held it down. You know what I'm saying? We had errors and stuff that appealed to my demo, but it's like I guess the lowest thing. But it's still like I guess we could still put us in that thing. But it's like to see everything diluted and where it's at. It's like, man, why? Like when we talk about the greatness of this and see where it's at, it's kind of like, man, fuck, why did stuff have to trend so south? You know, like
I mean, to be perfectly honest, and I'll say this and we can wrap up, man, but we shouldn't be depending on, Kendrick, Drake, or Cole at this stage in their career to be holding hip, carrying hip hop on their back, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Like these guys are about 40 now. I mean, shit, J. Cole just turned 40. And, not to say you still can't be actively out there, but we can't be sitting here like, yo, the game is in their hands. Like, no, it's not their responsibility at this point. They've done what they've done. And it seems like somebody's dropped the ball somewhere down the line if we're still depending on them to carry hip hop. Future and people like that too. Like,
all these dudes, all these dudes push. Like, think about it. Like, one thing I do like is now we don't put those age restrictions on who's dope now, or whatever, because some of these rappers are pushing 40s. I mean, 2 Chainz still dropping stuff. He up there. All these rappers, the older rappers are really the ones that's like kind of doing it. The young rappers have their cult followings and their things that's beyond ways of us understanding. But, for the most part, you're right. We shouldn't have to. That's like the NBA banking on LeBron still being the face of the NBA. What are all these dudes doing? Like right. Y'all really come with it to hold this down. Like, it's up to these people to come out and do their thing. What's the next generation that's going to pick up where they left off and keep it going? We still shouldn't be on Drake to give us the anthems of the whatever we look to, or the Kendricks and the Coles and all that stuff. And it's just like, it's kind of disappointing, man. Where's anybody else is wanting to put quality into their music? It can't. It's easy to look like a standout, and I say this about Nicki, and I say that I want to say this without like dissing her. It's easy to look like a standout when there's not a lot of people to compare you to that's out with you. Like one thing I can say about Cole, Kendrick, Drake, and all them, they were all in a class with other people that was dope, and whoever came out on top is who came out on top. But like, one thing for Nicki is like, it doesn't take away from her being dope, but what other female rappers did she have to go against? Like the female
in the mainstream, nothing. And what really got me when it came to her, when somebody else did come in the mainstream, she couldn't take it. Like when Cardi came, she just couldn't take it, and she was clearly better than Cardi. You know what I'm saying? It's like you said, it was the playing field was just wide open, and she rode that lane, and it is what it is, but she didn't have anybody in her way. So Far Gone just celebrated 16 years, and people are still sitting here waiting for that guy to continuously give us anthems. It's not his responsibility anymore.
The fact that we, like I said, that battle, Kendrick and Drake, I feel like I said, the fans ruined that battle to me a little bit. But what I can say is what it should do, if anybody take anything from this, it should take away that people need to get back to the roots of this shit. Get back to brushing up your pen. It's nothing wrong to be better. It's nothing wrong. I feel like 2 Chainz just said this in an interview, and I was so happy that he said this, but it's the obvious shit. He said, but for him to say it and it's coming from him is actually dope. He said, if you want to be a rapper, this is your job. This is your job. You should rap every day.
Exactly.
These rappers are rapping, bro. How are you going to be good at something you're not practicing at it? You're not practicing at your craft every day. You think NBA players or, Kobe, they say Kobe was the first one in the gym, last one out. To be dope at this shit, you have to have the work ethic. You have to have, like, train your pen, bro. These rappers are not really doing that. They're just like clinging on to whatever wave is hot at the time and seeing if they can get to that wave and get as much as they can and get out. And it's just like, if y'all really want to be of this shit, man, really take it serious. Really hone in on your craft and be dope, man. And that doesn't mean you have to be lyrical, spiritual, all that shit. Bring something new. Bring something fresh and be dope at it. If you come in the game and say, I don't want to be the best NBA player. I want to be the best 3-point shooter. Say that to music. Like, if you want to be a hit maker, just say, I want to be the best hit maker.
Like, if I want to be the flows guy, be the guy that comes with creative flows here and there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
just be the best at it, dog. Like, whatever you do, be the best at it. And we put so much on stuff outside of the music, and that's another thing that hurts stuff like the Kendrick and Cole stuff, and even conversations we had. Of course, due to the topics at hand that was surrounding the beef things, we need to really just when we talk about certain topics at certain times, we have to keep it music. We have
Yeah,
to keep it music because I think with the social media stuff, and like I said, I'm a suspect of this myself. When it comes down to the music and how we could really delve into the lives of these individuals, we feel like we know these people, and so some of our opinions are talking as if we know these people, and it should really just be to the music. I think when
I agree.
fans start getting outside of what we're really here for, it makes conversations null and void because then it becomes opinionated. When it
And then
comes
it's
down to music, it can be
music.
subjective, but I think it goes back down to the history of hip hop. When you have a battle and somebody say something dope, and it's like, you know, even when we think about the Apollo and they put the hand over there in the crowd going like, that's really what comes down to. Who is coming with the dopest shit and the hottest shit, and that's what you rated on. And when you lose a battle, that necessarily didn't mean it's over for you. It's just you took an L. It's like
Yeah,
losing a battle. I think somebody said this recently. Like Drake losing a battle is like LeBron losing in the finals. Like he'll be fine. You lost the
yeah,
finals. This is armor, but you'll be back to fight. And the thing why, on the flip side, why it takes away from Drake's stuff, in my opinion, is the outside stuff that went around the beef stuff. If none of
yeah.
that outside shit played a role into it and we just keep it to music, I have no opinions. Drake could live to see another day. But then when it comes down to the suing and all that other shit you're doing, it kind of makes me, like I said, if we just keep it music, bro, we're always gonna appreciate it. Where somebody win or lose, it's just all right. You just took an L, cool. Come with
Yeah.
it next. But now it's like it's so much being dragged into the personalities of people and what we don't like outside of the music. It's got bad, bro.
It's
And we
bad. It's a bad look. All
yeah,
right,
we got
well, let's wrap this up. I know we like 3 hours in. Great conversations, though, man. It's a great show. Um, yeah, hit like and subscribe. Like I said,
to like
we'll see what Joey's talking about at midnight, and I guess we didn't even get a chance to talk Westside, but we'll talk that next show. All right, Ron, man. Great show, man. And yeah, I'm gonna have that Mount Rushmore of flows. That's like a very
it's
difficult thing.
hard, man. Because even when I gave mine, I gave 8, and I said all of them could rotate, man. I think I gave 8, and I said you could rotate them in no order, man. It's just
Jay
I
Z
don't
could
know.
be in there too. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
what I'm saying. It's tough. Make sure y'all like and subscribe, and tell your friends to tell a friend.
Tell a friend to tell a friend. Appreciate you, sir.
Yes, sir.